What is up, y'all? I'm pretty sure we're going live. It's been a while. I am back and more fatherly than ever. Let's see. So I had to make sure. All right. Had a random alert about moderation activity. I didn't know that had been updated. That's cool. I haven't been here in a while. So my daughter's in the other room. She seems to be doing well. She was a little fussy, so small delay to the stream, but we in here. We're here. Luckily, Horikoshi was on break, so it wasn't just like I left you guys high and dry entirely. Let me get the people in here. Almost a month. It has been a while. Now, hey, Trippy Manga and Tiger Blaster. All right, some people are still getting the alert. Worried might have accidentally broken some stuff being inactive for so long. It's been what, 3 weeks? It's been a while. Yep. All right. So we have not had anything in 3 weeks. So I want to make sure everybody's been doing well. Hey, Thomas is here. Tarnish is here. Tyler's here. Cameron, Bailey, Tabofu, and Samo 4. All right. So my people are here. I have not been abandoned. I didn't see, I got pretty lucky. I saw somebody mention Mina this week, but I'm not surprised. So I'm fine with that. That's kind of obvious. She was one of the people that I had picked. If you guys remember all the way back last stream, I said that she was probably one of the people that was going to be on top of Makia. We were kind of looking at who was all at that site. So I'll be curious to see if it ends up being some of the people that we might have speculated on, even though I don't even remember all the theories, but I expected like Hiroshima, Mina, basically the heroes who were at the Gas Mask God site. So got to use Gas Mask God because that's what my boy Coyote dubbed him. I don't know if that's if maybe we get a name for him this week. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. Let's see how many people we got in here. Let's see. Who do we have in here? Do we have enough for me to start? It's been a while. So, yep, 25 people. That's enough. Hey, Alves, that one guy, S. Little Denzel. Okay, yeah. Yes. I thought about, so I was originally going to wear just a mustache when our daughter was born. For those of you who remember the Invincible stream, big Omni Key vibes. But because of the timing, I just didn't have time to shave. So my daughter recognizes my face with a beard, so I'm not doing the dad stash. Maybe I'll do it when she's like 10 or something, and she'll be distraught and not want me to be around because I won't look cool to her. We'll see. Oh, Andrew coming through with the super chat. Now that you're a father, Anarchy, have you learned any techniques to deal with crying babies? Cough, manga fans, cough. Oh. So what I've learned is sometimes you just got to lift them up and then you got to set her down. You got to lift her up and set her down. And sometimes you just got to give them little nosies, nose around, nosy. But there's no one-stop shop solution for being a crying baby, unfortunately. I'm sorry to tell you this, Andrew. It's unfortunate news. We are at the amount of people that I like to have in here when I start a chapter, so I'm going to go ahead and dive in because I want to read. That's really what it boils down to, is that I actually want to read. My Hero 383. It's been a while. All right, opening shot is Mina. Let's see. See, what I'm excited about with this is that one of the things that I repeatedly said during the PLW arc when people were like, no, Mina lost her moment. She should have gotten a thing in my kids. I was like, Mina gets to be a real character now. She gets to have a journey. When we got the 1A reunion, I was like, look, people are over here talking about, oh, there's not enough. I'm like, look, Mina turned into a giant crybaby. She's always upset. She's always stressed, pressed, and depressed lately. So we're going to get to see some of what Horikoshi decides to pay off for her feelings. Maybe it won't be much. We'll see. I'll give the critics an open mind. Jalen Baxley, Jason Thomas, what's up? But just saying, this is something that we've been kind of talking about. Has been like a quiet, like we have a through line for Mina to have plot and involvement. So here we go. After word spread about Todoroki taking down Dabi, and as you always, translations by Caleb Cook, and the lettering is by John Hunt. Giganto Makia's containment facility, Jaku Hospital ruins. All right, so we see Mineta and Sero. Let's see. Come on, right when things were on the up and up. My softening quirk is useless against people floating in the air. All right, so Juzo was at this site. Good to know. Which I guess that makes sense, right? You have Mineta here, you have Juzo here. Part of how they had, slowed down Makia was by softening the ground and creating, like, causing a sinkhole for him. Obviously, he was eventually able to get out of that, but the point still stands. People who kind of stopped Makia before being around. Same with having, Sero here for the tape so that they have extra things that they can go ahead and grab, Makia and stuff like that if he were to rampage. Kind of just paying dividends off that PLW arc in season 6. So, yes, Joseph, that gift is useful. I've been happy with all the gifts that people from the church sent. I appreciate every single one of you. You guys are insanely valued. You've actually done more for my daughter than my own mom. So I appreciate you guys coming through and being real supporters, like from genuinely, like from the heart. This plan will come to fruition thanks to our quirks and this ultra high tech high frequency emitter. All right, so he's got feel good ink. We see there's a couple people floating, which we also see that like he's secreting some kind of gas and standing on it, which means that he's got basically like almost like a weaker version of Caesar's gas fruit from One Piece. For those of you who read that, we have the sneak attack set up. Why are they here ready for us? Your pathetic defensive efforts won't hinder our plot at all. These high-frequency sound waves mimic all for one's voice. So no matter how solid those restraints are, the voice will pierce every wall and get picked up by the superior hearing of Makia's dog quirk. This is actually the first time that I think, like, one of the first times somebody's like straight up been like, Makia has a dog quirk. I know it was covered in the actual manga, but so I'm just catching up on the chat. Yes, I made it to an Anarchy stream. Thank you. I'm glad to have you here, Jacob Ramirez. And here's Tanisha Greer. Glad to see you here. Oh my goodness, Alves, not the DILF streams. Let's see. But I do accept that compliment. Thank you. Let's see. All right, get picked up by but like Makia's quirks were largely covered, and then like Dabi kind of rattle off some of them, like endurance, pain resistance. He's just nonstop shopping. But yeah. All right, my lady is there. We can't let them wake up Giganto Makia. He must not wake up. I like that fear in her eyes. It makes sense. She's kind of been through it. She had her leg broken by this dude, was getting ragdolled by him. Let's see, we can't let them wake up. Gansumaki must not wake up. Help me out, rule. Big. Okay, so Kodai is on site. So this has a decent number of Class B characters here. Good way to incorporate them and make sure they're still having to play roles. I like the fact that one of the things that, like, people always say, like, well, they're in Class A, that's why they're better. And I'm like, well, no, Class A just happens to have a bit more heavy loaded quirks. And that's partially just the main cast buff, right? Like, you got Explosion, you got Engine, but then you think about the fact that Class B has characters like Monoma in it, and that's pretty good. And let's be real, you'd probably rather have Jack the Ripper's quirk, the guy who makes the blades that got bopped by Bakugo, than have Tail, for example. So, some of these quirks are primarily utility based, but that's all right. So she's got a huge Allen wrench, about to use that to swat GSG like a fly, it looks like. Let me zoom in here just to see, because it looks like he's helping multiple people float. The big guy, from the standpoint of ordinary people. Okay, so we got that zoom in, and it's a flashback to the guy that Uraraka watched give up and quit. And then, boom, the thing is open, embodies pure psychological scarring as he's breaking free, and we get that emphasis on Mina. Like I said, letting her be a real character, talking about the fact that she was traumatized by the events where she stood up to him all the way back in the day. This is some of those things that she would, Kirishima felt like she wasn't scared, and even though she ended up crying and upset after she moved and technically helped Springer die, she was impacted by that. We kind of saw that come back. And so this, this extra third encounter with Makia, one, putting me in a position where she probably asked to be here. And if you think about it, Mina is currently like face to face in this flashback with the two people most responsible for the death of Midnight, right? Like, I guess you could argue that Compress should be here too if she's going to confront all three of them. But ultimately, if Makia is not giving them a ride, not tearing through the front lines, Compress doesn't have that specific advantage over her. And then, she doesn't end up falling and getting killed by GSG. So all around good setup, just kind of focusing in on that. So let's see. Ooh, the escort mission is done. So that was when Kirishima got back. And the chaos, okay, he's already had like his face armor's broken off, and we see that he's taken a couple hits that's gotten through there. And the chaos of the plan to divide and conquer. We warped Shinso to this location and kept him hidden away from the battlefield, all without the villains catching on. It was a backup plan in case push came to shove. Shinso, Makia needs a dose of brainwashing. Whoa, oops. We see Shinso turning around, and he's covered in the sludge villain. You spotted me. Yikes. All right. Okay, there's a way around this, right? He's sludge, and Mina can possibly mix some acid in there and really get in there. And maybe, like the disruption of the fluid quality will stop her from, man, look, I don't know. Look, I'm a little worried I know Shinso's okay because we saw him, but I'm just saying there's some wiggle room here. Let's see what happens. The only heroes left these days have got serious guts, so I thought I'd pretend to fight a little and then sneak away. I gotta say, this pushover makes a way better hiding spot than that plucky middle school girl. So he was gonna try to wait. Who was he in before? I wonder. The weak are meant to suffer and submit. It's the law of the jungles. Might makes right. The authority of the strong is self-justified. All right, and we see Makia slapping the shit out of Mount Lady. Where is Master? And let's see, she's gone flying. He's broken through that wrench. Today marks the advent of the Liberation Era. Output max power. Acid Man Alma. Damn, acid with enough strength and volume to melt Makia's body. Careful, kid. That'll take a lot out of you. I couldn't pull this off last time, and so many people died. All that carnage and destruction. I had Bakugo and Todoroki fill me in on their special training method because I can't stand it anymore. Failing to protect what I care about isn't cool by me. Okay, so first off, hold up. So this acid is bigger, but Mina's horns, they horning, bro. Like, this damn near looks like a crown of Loki, and they're a bit straighter. Okay, so we get another semi-transformation. In addition to that, we get that build up and release technique. So we get an application, which what I like about this also is that we know that Class 1A has been training. They've been trying to get to a higher level. to keep up with One for All, and there are different ways to try to, even though we know that they're not going to be on the same level as One for All, their powers aren't that broken. But the idea that Mina and Bakugo, which especially with the fact that Mina already has an established rapport with Bakugo from like Sports Festival, so we already have like probable cause, even ignoring all the stuff that they've gone through for them to eventually have a conversation about how to get stronger, especially when you factor in that Bakugo is also the one who critiqued her during the final exam arc about how she needs to be having better control of her power. It makes sense that he would try to elevate her based off the established interactions between the two of them, especially in the first phase of the story. Obviously, in phase 2, there was less interactions, but Bakugo was also less prominent during that section, and because it was the rise of the villain saga. So, and we also get the emphasis of her specifically protecting Kirishima here. I also like this because it kind of immediately flips the previous criticism on its head. It was horrible because Horikoshi was doing that misogyny thing where he had Red Riot come in there and protect her, and we get basically a parallel to Deku and Uraraka's relationship here, with Mina saving him and him saving her, except, Uraraka is even more often saving Deku than the other way around. But still, this idea that Mina and Red Riot save each other, like the thing that, it's been talked about, like who saves the heroes? They save each other, they hold each other's backs. Acid, taking advantage of my fluid body to coat my innards with the stuff. Ick. Nope. All right, so I was right. Mixing a ton of acid into his body isn't gonna be a good chance. Wait, fat chance, idiot. I'm sticking with the winners. Thanks, you two. Oh, nice. Okay, so what I like about this is that it's a reward for this shows that Shinso has gotten way better combat awareness and battlefield presence, because the second the body snatcher got off of him, he changed his persona chords to match it with either Mina or Kirishima. It doesn't matter which one, and immediately yelled at the guy because he figured the guy would reflexively respond to that person, and boom, brainwashed, stuck as a pile of goop. Love it. Ashido, Shoji never had revenge on his mind. Ooh. Also, what I like about this is that we're kind of getting the emphasis here that Ashido's acidity, because we've seen, Todoroki kind of acquire some damage, and we've seen Dabi definitely acquire damage, and we've seen Bakugo break his arms. So we're kind of seeing that in this moment, she didn't go full blown plus ultra because it was, one arm, one big flash fire type of attack. But we are seeing that damage from her arm from the acid. So she's not completely acid, immune. She's acid resistant. But it's important to note that more than likely, if that acid had been on a regular person who didn't already have, some buildup to acid, then that arm might not even be there. Or at the very least, you have flesh sloughing off the bone. So good work on that consistency. Why is Makia asking where is Master? Law, can't he smell him? He should be running. You gotta remember, Makia's not that smart, right? So he's breaking out. He's like, yo, where is he? Where is he at? And then he's gonna sniff him out. And the reason why I'm saying it this way is because Makia, from what we understand, has been on drugs the entire time. And I don't mean he's just doing drugs. I mean, they've been sedating him this entire time. So an already dumb and overburdened brain that struggles with processing stuff anyway is now cutting through the haze of a bunch of anesthesia, trying to figure out what's going on. So nothing too crazy. Let's see. So Cameron Bailey, what it comes down to isn't the temperature. What it comes down to is the purity, or think of it as the pH balance, right? So we've seen Mina make Acid Man and have 0.01% acidity with max viscosity, and that was the one that she made so that she could run through fire. So what this means is that she can, just in the same way that Todoroki can adjust the temperature of his heat, make hotter flames or more regular flames, and now cold fire, so he has complete manipulation of the temperature of his fire. She can manipulate how strong her acid is. And normally she's not doing a max concentration acid attack. So she's pushing to the highest amount of acidity that her body can produce while technically not having utilized it to that degree, because there's always backlash to quirks. This has always been the case. If you, even just because you have a quirk doesn't mean you're completely immune to it. It's the same way as mustard. His body was capable of producing mustard gas, and if you told me that he was maybe capable of resisting it, I'd believe you. But the fact that he was wearing a mask specifically meant that he was not completely immune. A1 love. Yeah, like straight up chloric acid or something. Like if she's just pumping out lye, for example. And if you don't know what lye is the acid that you used to, like when you would find a body plant, or like where they were hiding the bodies, it would be a bunch of barrels of lye with bodies sitting in them as they slowly dissolved. So it's a pretty strong acid. It's not the most powerful acid, but if it's a strong enough acid that people will use it to get rid of bodies. And if it's left long enough, they're gone. Yes, her body should be able to adapt to this acid over time, which means that because of the way that quirks work, her body will adapt to this level of acidity, and then she'll get an even higher level of acidity, and she'll just kind of keep feedback looping up and up and up until there's a certain point. Oh no, I knew about Lie before Breaking Bad because I used to watch Mafia specials, like on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, because I watched the thing about I watched the thing about Prohibition when I was like 10 years old or something like that, maybe 12. And did you know that the sport of NASCAR would not exist if alcohol had never been made illegal? It was started by bootleggers who were carrying liquor in souped up cars in order to, and no, I have not seen Breaking Bad, escape the police. So they would like strip out a bunch of the stuff that weighed the car down and then be driving. And what was crazy is that because they were driving these cars all recklessly, they would drive around, and moonshine is not the safest stuff to travel. So one wrong pothole or whatever, and there's a chance that their car could have blown up from just all the moonshine and stuff in the back. But yeah. Let's see, Makia just, so in regards to them being able to take control of him, in this sense, him waking up in a haze makes it where he cannot cognitively think through, but brainwashing removes his cognitive function for the most part. So, it's kind of like, for all intents and purposes, you can look at it as like hopping in the Megazord and just being like, whoop. And now Makia doesn't need to think or need his full sentience to just, for his body to just kind of respond. So it's kind of like being tapped almost directly into his nervous system. All right. Let's see. Now let me get back to the chapter. I love talking to you guys though. So hey, I'm pretty sure I've done a solo stream that accidentally went an hour once, and I wasn't even expecting. So that's cool. Ashido, Shoji never had revenge on his mind. And yeah, I loved Midnight Sensei's classes. I know all about fear because I'm weak. That weakness makes me want to form packs and get close with people. Oh, okay. So looking at this collage, you have Mina being sad from the time she got excluded from the games during Forest Training Camp. We've got her talking to Uraraka about love, her willingly joining the cheer squad, her immediately hopping in to teach dancing lessons during a culture festival in order to make people happy. Her teasing Red Riot about the Acid Man and how it's her version of Unbreakable. Let's see. That looks like the Christmas party. Uraraka working with her to make the outfits. Her at sports festival. Let's see what else I can spot here. Let's see, obviously the concert itself, when she pulled up on Midoriya and told him that he was fired. Let's see. I think, oh yeah, that face, I think that's from the Room event. Oh, her being fussy back during the final exam arc. Let's see. I'm trying to remember where this Mina, Jiro, and Sue picture is from, though. I don't know why it's escaping me. Let's see. Uniform with Aizawa around, probably discussing school festival. All right. Well, I'm sure you guys have gotten enough to say, yes, Aniki has legit MHA knowledge. We don't need to run through every single one of these flashbacks. The point is, they all exist. But yeah, let me get forward in the chapter. That goes for our side too. That's what defines us, right? Okay, yeah. And I saw somebody mentioning this because I hadn't turned the page yet. Definitely losing the blackness in her sclera. So I wonder what exactly this is tying to. Whether it's like amount of acid or so it could be that, you know, when she has a certain amount of acid built up, that's when she gets like the. So I wonder if that, like, if we can use her eyes as like a gauge for how much acid she's capable of producing, or if it's a transformation of some kind. She does look a little less pink, but that could be over analyzing that part. But it looks like she's losing some pigment. So I mean, you could look at that a couple of different ways. You also see like she's got like the lines, which does she even have that at the start of the chapter? I don't know, maybe. Yeah. So I guess it depends on if that's her mask or if that's something else going on with her body. That's what defines us, right? We are. So we're getting a flashback here with Detner at one and the same. So we got Redestro telling him that we're the same. Rant and shout all you like. Your cries fall flat because there's no stopping him. That's why I learned what I had to. Okay, so fall flat? No. Okay, so we got Makia, master. Okay. Oh, Shinso like spinning up, using his capture scarf to fly up there. So Makia, master, boom. Now he's been locked in. That's why I learned what I had to from Aizawa Sensei. Attack those in the air. And boom. Oh, instantly in a mole mode. I use my persona codes to recreate All for One's voice based on recordings from Tartarus. Now that he's responded, I've got him. So I'm not even competing with their frequency emitter. And then Mina starts to pass out. Whoa there, Ashido, you must be majorly dehydrated. I'm seriously sorry I've been such a letdown. Okay, so, yep, like somebody mentioned in the chat, her secreting all that acid definitely hit her hydration supply. And Kirishima saying he's been a letdown is wild because we know that he was on some sort of escort mission and then came back. All right, there. Paid you back. Mina saying she paid Kirishima back for the, you know, PLW incident. Come on, you never owed me a thing. Don't you get it? You've always been my hero, you jerk. Man. Come on, Horikoshi, chill out. Hey, J. Michael Holmes. Mina tried to use TNJ, but it failed. She's getting bleached by the acid. Maybe it's about amount of quirk usage. Yep. What a color wide Deku does. Mina cover inbound. We could get a Mina cover. Let's see. So yeah, okay. So that explains. We've stopped them from reclaiming Makia. Now round up the escaped convicts and PLF members for transport. All for one? Really? And we see the Mount Lady getting something on the comms. This is and then later. Okay, so we're cutting a Sukauchi. This is a massive gamble. We've just barely kept this thread of hope intact, so it had better not snap now. Send everything we've got at him. And that's how we get Mount Lady, Makia, Light of Balder form, Tokoyami, all lashing out at All for One, and several helicopters coming with heroes to also take him on. Okay, so first off, like Joseph, I'm going to be sending you an invite. I'm going to be sending invites into the church. So bishops, archbishop, if you're here, be ready to pop in. I'm sending you the links now. But something I want to talk about here that I think has been, I was thinking the Kira Mina Cannon thing, but I was like, I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna address it. I'm not gonna talk about ships, but I did think that was very cute and supportive between the two. That was just like a really wholesome ass moment, and I love seeing that kind of stuff happen. Like that, just like that real wholesome support. Or as one of my buddies would say, it's a straight agenda propaganda, but that's okay. At Bishops. All right, so let's get them in here. But so this is something that I've been thinking about for a while now. And I was thinking about this because when we were talking about how, and obviously this was like last week, and so throughout the weeks I've been thinking about this. I think All for One, and Jason Thomas said it in the chat, and I'm really glad that maybe AFO won't get to Shiggy. All Might is in one of those choppers, isn't he? Well, I thought maybe Shiggy might come to AFO via warping, but that is too similar to Togo Twice scenario. TBH, I am not the biggest fan of this being a flashback. It kind of takes some of the stakes knowing this will work out. Don't get me wrong. I like the concept. I just think it's really weirdly placed. So I actually agree with this. I think that we could have just cut to this location, but actually, no, I think we should have cut to this location and then not gotten the Suka Uchi scene until they were all pulling up, and then gotten that. I think the Suka Uchi part should have been a flashback, but I think this would have been better to experience on its own in real time, and maybe getting to see a little more of what Kirishima was up to on this battlefield. But I think that's because like in the case of Kirishima, whatever he was up to on this battlefield is probably not going to appear like match up with to the level of what he's doing here. But as far as I'm concerned, he can have multiple moments. At the same time, let's be real. The reason why we didn't have a stream for like 3 weeks isn't just because, my daughter was born. It's also because Horikoshi was sick. And so we're at this weird juncture where now we have to like look at what do we want and what will be cool versus what can be sacrificed to make sure that our author doesn't randomly kick the bucket before the story's over.
Yeah, this battlefield was sacrificed. It was, because I feel like he wanted to do more things here, especially with the slime villain, because nigga said, yeah, I just wanted to fight for a little bit and run off. And he brought up Deku too this chapter.
Mm-hmm. So it's like,
damn, yo.
We're making trade-offs now. We're playing alchemy with the story. It's unfortunate, but
this could have been avoided if he just took a longer break. But I think we really need to have a conversation about like the man whose manga we're reading. Because every time he takes a break, he apologizes. Like he's doing something wrong.
There's objectively, like there's just no other way but to interpret it as Horikoshi has been terribly traumatized by working at Shonen Jump. Like there's just no getting around it at this point.
He's legitimately scared something will happen to my hero if he's not around.
So like he's straight admitted to having nightmares of getting canceled this late in the series, while still selling 500,000 every new volume drop, basically. And like I know some people are like, well, 500,000 books isn't a lot. You need to remember, yes, Japan has a third the population that we do, and 33% of their population is 65 or older, which means that not only do they have a third of our population, but then you got to like shrink that down even further because
for the age range,
like they're probably hitting a target audience of like 20 to 30 million tops, and so just a lot. Like here, that would be like moving to like roughly 1.5 million to 2 million, which immediately we'd all be like, oh yeah, that's platinum. Exactly. Somebody at Jump probably did put something in his head. I'm not gonna lie, like it is, because I was funny. It reminds me of how that dude that was at like C2E2 during MBA, like how I've always made fun of him. But if you go back now, just remember during season 5, I quote tweeted his tweet about how MBA was taboo and Shonen Jump.
So it was deleted.
And he deleted it. He deleted it during season 5 after I quote tweeted him.
Nigga said, damn, this blew up.
Not like, to slander, but he was a bit of a coward.
Oh, definitely.
Nah,
he should have stuck 10 toes on that.
And stood his ground.
And MHA does have good international sales. But when you have, 2 canceled series, I wish I could get an English copy of Oh My God, You Do. Let's see if I can find one online. But like when you got 2 series that were canceled, with them having some of the blatant framework for the current series in them. For example, this guy, Aizawa, 100% Aizawa. This guy,
he was totally proto Aizawa.
So it's really unfortunate that the series is taking random like hits here and there because he feels like he has to come back and he has to get this done and he has to. Whereas, and I think the problem is that MHA is an objectively very successful series.
Super.
However, it does not lean into the realm of successful that classic archetypical Exorcist series have done. And I mean specifically like JJK and KNY.
So you think he's getting like a little insecure, maybe something like that?
I think that. So, because think about this for a second, like fans, like.
Because he be hanging out, he hangs out with Gege. You think they talk about that stuff? Like,
no. I mean, like, how do I put this? I think Jump is specifically making it seem worse than the situation is. And the reason why I say that is because Phantom Seer was, printing a decent number of copies. It was a very middle of the road Exorcist series as far as performance goes. And it got canceled.
Terribly, yo. There was a lot of setup in that story for shit to come in the future.
So I think the problem is that Jump has, and like Exorcist series, we talked about this. There's like, I can list off like 10 different Exorcists. Like you got Twin Star Exorcist running on from Shueisha. You got Blue Exorcist actively running. JJK is an Exorcist series. KNY was an Exorcist series.
MHA's been around longer than all of that too.
You have Chainsaw Man, which is another Exorcist series. Hellward and Higuma came out. Phantom Seer came out. Duran was an Exorcist series that came out. Like D Gray Man was running from Shueisha, and I'm pretty sure it still is running in Shueisha, but like in Jump SQ or something like that. You have 10, 15, 20 different Exorcist series that you can name off within the past like 10, 15 years at Jump alone. And so you see KNY. So like obviously the Exorcist genre is one that is just important to Jump. And it's important and popular in Japan. So the way I look at it is that Jump probably treats people who aren't Oda, because One Piece is One Piece, and it's got 500 million sold and blah blah blah, with like 460 million of those being in Japan. But if you're not Oda and you're not one of these 2 big default Exorcist series that like popped off and exploded, you're probably treated like you're not as successful as you should be. And so they're probably like, well, you see these guys, and it's like we're 2 different genres. We're both action, sure, but this is superhero sci-fi. That's mysticism, exorcism. 2 different realms here. One of them is a lot more prevalent and more of a staple, like the superhero cape, tights, capes, and all that other good stuff. That is a US thing. That's why almost anytime you read a superhero story that's got the capes and the tights and stuff like that, there's pretty much, no matter where it is from around the world, some kind of reference to the US. And so I don't think Gege is like making him feel bad or anything like that. I think Jump is acting like everybody is supposed to have that same level of success, ignoring their own cultural windows and like targets and why that it is that way.
That's ignorant on their part.
And the thing is like the reason why I bring up Fantasy here specifically is because KNY did not have like super impressive sales. They had pretty decent sales.
It was about to get
for a really long time. And then the anime happened and it started to kind of pick up. And then episode 19 happened, it went super viral, and then people were like, oh yeah, let me go check this series out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they stopped contextualizing shit.
You know what I was thinking of? And I mentioned it in a VC in the Discord a while ago, like I believe 2 weeks ago. But I feel like something that's impacting Hori is Karaguchi's performance with Red Hood, and how that was axed, and Karaguchi was a former assistant to Hori. So to me personally, I feel like that hit him like deep, because if Karaguchi was or their series axed, you know, he had past series axed too. So if that could happen to them, it could happen to him.
Yep. Oh, and I'm not even going to talk about this week's chapter of One Piece on stream, just because actually there is somebody who might come on stream to talk about this. We'll see. But
Or are they?
We'll see if they show up. I don't want to make any empty promises.
Is my mic working? I've been trying to see.
But look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I will say that I don't agree with this writing choice for the latest One Piece chapter. I just don't. I don't think it's a good direction. But hey, but yeah, like to a certain degree, there's like this weird refusal to acknowledge that what they did with K and Y and what they did with JJK. One, they're two series that came after My Hero, but also the studios that they gave them to, the way that the anime production cycle went, and all this other stuff is massively different. And like My Hero can consistently go viral. Like it was trending yesterday because the season finale went out. And honestly, as much as like a lot of manga people have complained about season 6, I have season 6 over season 2. I know somebody's gonna say but like no, like
bro, season 6 is the best season of My Hero.
Oh, for sure.
Just like the content that gets adapted, like you cannot. It's the best content.
Even
like,
this episode,
bro.
Like,
this is the season that makes you think about the other 5 seasons constantly. Like, okay, this is why I've been watching this show. Like season 6, just off that alone, season 6, it got it. Like literally.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I've just been having some mic issues, so oh my god. But yeah, season 6 was great.
The voice acting, everything, the consistency, the arcs adapted. It's just the openings and endings. Like
also the reception and like a lot of people in the manga community were like, I wanted this arc to go longer.
Yeah.
A lot of anime fans that I saw online just wanted Deku to go home. And I think it comes down to like,
I told you, the way anime people react is always different, bro. I be paying attention to that too. I'm like, they do not complain about the same thing. They don't think about the same things at all. And
it comes down to like, if you like My Hero and you like Deku and you like some of the stuff that was pitched, like the way that they've kind of like advertised and promoted Deku and like Class 1A, and then you watch him cut those bonds away, there's a lot of people who need to accept the fact that they're kind of like edgelords. Like they're at least some, like you got to be real with that and acknowledge that like there's certain like edgelord tendencies, like the people who hate the ending in Attack on Titan tend to want a far more edgy ending. There's just something about that like extra edge, like I want that grit. But, or as they would put it, like raw swag Kino merches. But a lot of people were like, this is a child. And I want this child to not be running the streets.
One thing I really noticed that I kind of appreciated was like, you remember that scene in that panel that they made the figure of Deku just looking like a monster with black wet painted over him as he's walking in the street alone. A lot of anime only reactors that I watch, they were like scared for him and of him because of how he was looking and going through all that. Well, like most manga people were like, he looks so cool, which okay, he does, but like it's more about him and less about his appearance.
That just comes down to the fact that anime fans or manga fans in general, they'll look at a character's mental health or how, quote unquote raw they are, but they'll discard like the human aspects. Like Aniki mentioned Eren a couple of weeks ago, and this arc currently in the anime is a perfect example too. Deku's mental health is a huge point Hori has pointed out, but it's only the anime only who have noticed it and have actually cares. Manga fans were just, oh my god, he's so raw. Look at him, he's so cool. This is the coolest Deku has ever been.
And so actually, I want to talk about.
I do
It
something
really
that
was.
Tarnish-
It really
It's-
was though. At the same
Because
time,
Tarnish, you got jumped. You got jumped.
Yeah, you got jumped twice.
Yeah, you know what's funny? That tweet really got muted like 30 minutes after I tweeted.
Now, and I did say, like, I don't fully agree with what you said, but the reason for that is because one, Deku has already always been like self-neglectful, and we do want him to work on that, right? I think we all agree that, like, Deku, please
Yes.
stop neglecting yourself.
Yep.
You're like perpetuating the same cycle that All Might put himself through. So
This
there's-
guy, we re-emphasized this season.
Mhm.
Right. And there's
Okay.
two things that I think really need to happen for Deku to be able to do that. One, All Might needs to directly say, I messed up. Do not do this to yourself. Because think about it, even when Deku goes back and All Might comes in, he's all, hey,
They
I
both
made mistakes.
apologize to each other.
But he
like-
doesn't directly say, this part of the philosophy that I passed on to you is wrong, and you need to value your life and yourself better.
He
Mhm.
low-key doubled down, especially in his head. His internal monologue, he was doubling down on that
So-
ideology.
So, like, All Might did not do what he was supposed to do there. Two, Deku needs to talk to Shigaraki, because we've done the whole backstory thing and we've gotten Shigaraki's backstory perspective. And I think this is one of those things where, like, the meta commentary brain and the story start to, like, cross wires a little bit here, because Deku still doesn't know what the fuck happened to
He's out the
Shigaraki as a
loop.
child. So Deku doesn't have some, like, so, like, and we know how much Deku cares about his mom. We see the way he tried to reassure her and comfort her when he was heading out. He hasn't had somebody straight up say, I am a villain because my family caused me suffering with their heroics and they decided to prioritize all that stuff over me. He's getting close to it with the Todoroki stuff, but he's not, like, internalizing the full scope of it because he's 16 years old. He might be 17 now, but I'm pretty sure he's 16.
He's 16.
Yeah, his birthday's in July.
Yeah.
He will be
So-
17.
So I agree that Deku needs to have some introspection, but I also think that we're putting a lot of, like, emotional, like, adult level emotional maturity onto a 16-year-old because he's dealing with adult level shit.
I do think Hori has, like, ever since Deku Black, Deku hasn't really had a single thought in his head that isn't related to him. And it's true because Deku
Yeah,
has
one
always
for
been
all.
neglectant of himself. Yeah, he, like, in certain aspects, I get why people are referring Deku as like a one for all machine, or he's still so prioritized on getting to All for One and Shigaraki. But I also think that Hori is, like, he's pushing all this until we get back to see their fight.
And
At least that's how
Yeah,
I feel.
I think another thing we all need to accept about Deku too. I feel like Deku low key, like, he has flat character qualities, whereas, like, the way he's been since the beginning has never really changed. Like, there's a core aspect of him that will always be the same. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
when you get that part in the recent chapter where he's like, "Oh, I can't pretend I didn't see you crying in there," like, you know, the last time we saw him in Shigaraki,
mhm.
it's like Shigaraki's hitting him with everything. He's like, yo, the only thing that will save me is everything that I once had being gone. Like, everything that wronged me being gone, the destruction of that house. You know, he's saying that to him, but Deku can't really see past himself and what he wants. It's like he kind of can't remove himself from the equation. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like in the recent episode when All Might said, yo, I just had to do something, even though I had no power. Like, I just had to. Until, like, that brick wall is really hit by him, which the time for him to learn about Shigaraki's past is now, because the real Shigaraki,
exactly.
the real Shigaraki is back. It's not, he's not controlled by anybody. All for One is here, stuck at Gunga. Like, the time for them to really communicate with each other is right now. So, like, it's now or never, basically. Like, this is Deku's moment,
right?
For real.
And I think that's why. And obviously, people are allowed to want certain things. And I think I was talking to Mello like months ago about how I do not agree with the idea of Deku finding all his solutions in this particular arc.
Yeah, Deku Black.
It just, like, I don't approve of that because it's too soon. And based on how many chapters we've gotten of stories since then, I'm very glad we didn't have him just like reach the conclusion and then have, 60 plus more chapters of content.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we solve the problem, even on his personal level, that could also come off as patronizing. Like, the growth that Shigaraki's experienced is kind of the stuff that people want for Deku, but Shigaraki needs to be ahead of Deku here. And the reason Shigaraki needs to be ahead of Deku in this particular train of growth is because if Deku is ahead of him, he won't be able to properly empathize anymore. This happens to a lot of people where, just look at it politically, even like people get their money and they're like, hey, whatever happens to y'all, I got what I got, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to keep that. And I'm not gonna worry about whether or not this particular political structure is actually beneficial to everyone involved. Just look at what they're saying in here. I won the Quirk lottery and got a super strong one. So I deserve to just run this stuff. And if you didn't get born into this, then it just sucks to suck. This is what I want.
So got mine, fuck you.
Yep. And then let me real quick say Terrence Bernard super chat, because since it's on topic, I've always joked that Deku/Shiggy's battle is going to have a portion of the vestigial plane to help Deku understand and save Shiggy by death or prison. And I think that this is like the best way to do it is a vestige realm conversation, specifically because so the follow-up was like, I forgot. The joke was they'd be just be on the ground seizing with everybody wondering what's going on. So it's funny because I was just about to say, like, it's probably going to look weird on the outside because it's going to have to be something that creates like a moment where they're physically stopped. So yeah, that's
no. Actually, I actually think that the Vestige World moments really happen like, it's like a hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah, it's like in milliseconds. It's like
yeah, especially like in the war when he tried to steal One for All. Like, I don't think Shoto was in the sky yelling Midoriya for like 5 minutes. Like, I feel like that all happened quickly.
You don't think he was going, me? No.
Like, can we take a moment to appreciate that final double page spread though? Because that is just gorgeous.
I love seeing that man getting smacked up like that.
Oh yeah, okay. Here's the thing, like all for one, and it's been kind of like a hot topic on Twitter, but like I love All for One as a villain. He's just a vile, petty asshole with no redeemable qualities, and it is just so satisfying just seeing him get his shit wrecked.
I love seeing him get smacked up. Always. Listen.
It's like he's in the middle. They got like Makia with a mountain.
I unironically love AFO as a character to the extent where he's probably in my top 10.
No, listen.
You mean in the series or in general?
Like in the series.
I compare him to Frieza. It's just like he's just an asshole. And
I can compare that,
yeah. So But here's the thing that I like about what's happening with All for One, and we've kind of been cooking them, right? Like last time we
about to say,
we were cooking the shit out of this man,
bro. I was gonna say this last double page. You know what this reminds me of? It really reminds me of that time when you was just like really going in on him, saying, "Yo, you don't really be in these streets like that, for real. Like you don't like." Like, it has really made me think about a majority of the battles we've seen with him. I'm like, yo, do this man really fight like that? Like,
bro,
do he
he's
know
not
how to
that
handle?
Nice.
Do he know how to handle situations when they start going left and shit is not in your favor? No, because he's always just been him. Like, he'll one tap somebody before he goes through a big, you know what I'm saying,
right,
back and forth battle with them.
When you're just handed the ability to be that guy, you end up, and that's why I love how perfectly the fight between him and Deku, when he's in control of the Shigaraki body, conveys that. When he lost all the like hack squirts and he just had to straight up box a dude while having the same physical stats as him, he just got whooped. He got embarrassed. Like, bro, a 16-year-old just dog walked your shit. And you were put in the same position All Might was in. Because you got that same raw physicality that lets you right midair. Shigaraki was doing that shit. And like, not even comparing that physicality, like 75% Shigaraki did better against a bunch of quirks than he was doing.
Can we please talk about that for real? Because I really feel like Shigaraki fought a bigger lineup, bro. Like he was quirkless, bodying everybody. Quirkless.
And he didn't have the transformations. He didn't have the extra defense. But he was going against Gran Torino, which we've discussed here. This is a pro Gran Torino household. This is a pro Gran Torino church. We might not fully agree with the way
that man is like that.
Like, because we talked about it. If any, like,
4 generations, like he fought with all for one.
Bro, he's been in these streets. Like, it's weird that he lived, but it's also not, because he's built different. Like, he's not these modern day heroes. Gran Torino is a soldier. He's a real fighter. He was out there.
Like I think my favorite part of like the all for one control and Shigaraki and Deku is like, is Shigaraki in there? No. Okay, Gearshift and Fajin. How about now?
he had to beat him up a little bit. Yo, and it's crazy because like even the monologue from Deku during that fight, like internally, when he's talking about all the vestige quirks and stuff like that. I remember one thing East always said was like, yo, this is not Deku versus Shigaraki. This is the vestiges getting their licks back on All for One. Like, and I'm like, nah, like, especially now with Shigaraki actually being back, I said that is literally what that fight was. It was everybody finally getting they one in on All for One. Like, even Yoichi at the end of that chapter was like, can we just end this, brother, already? Like, it's sickening.
And like, bro, because like, Shigaraki, and I genuinely believe this, if Shigaraki had been in full control, those people would have actually just been dead.
Absolutely.
Because Shigaraki would have been like, okay, bunny. All right. Headshot. Let me just.
That's the thing. Like... Shigaraki fights to kill every time. It's in his nature.
All for one fights to talk shit.
Like, All for One will manipulate you, use you to the very end, like play games. He just likes to hear himself talk, bro, a lot.
And the other thing about this is that Shigaraki, like All for One was like, y'all get out of the way. I need to slowly and methodically just kill Bakugo. Shigaraki probably would have been like, oh shit. All right, Najire's dead. Sun Eater's dead. Genius is dead. You watching this, Bakugo? It's your turn next. And he would have killed everybody first, made sure they were dead, and then got it with that split, that AFO trying to like control shit. He out here playing games.
Another thing too, like this nigga All for One kept saying, like, yo, I'm sure gonna All Might. Y'all know y'all can't do nothing. Like, you need to show them they can't do nothing. You hitting them one time, giving them the opportunity to get back up, figure something out. You in a cage already. He got hit by the electric barrier. Like, you can't escape. You need to do something.
And so, like, if Shigaraki had just been in control, he would have just handled the shit. But because they're fighting, and he had to rely on like that time bomb that he created within himself, which props to him for being able to do that.
That is crazy. I'm mad I missed that stream, bro. Because Shigaraki really is a beast for that. He literally forced Tenko to become him again.
Yeah, the
like,
game
he
recreated
himself. He recreated himself from the ground up, off instinct.
I love that message.
Nobody taught him how to do that. Either.
I love that message that was sent into the chat. Shigaraki would have snatched Headshot out of Bakugo instantly.
All for One was standing there talking about something. It's pointless. Why are you even trying? Shigaraki would have made sure that didn't happen.
Like, because All for One is so used to grandstanding, bro.
So I think my
But-
Frieza comparison was actually pretty apt.
Yeah, legit.
That's
what I-
literally Frieza on Namek. That's exactly what Frieza did on Namek, bro. He's letting everybody get back up and get healed by Dende. Vegeta getting the Zenkai boost. He's getting stronger every time. Then Goku came and it was just raps after that.
And so what I want to emphasize here, though, that I kind of been thinking about, especially once Shigaraki defeated the Vestige for One,
Mhm.
even if All for One got to Shigaraki, right? You know what's going to happen? Shigaraki would take every single quirk that he had in his body and leave that last bit of All for One in him. Like, cool, you can. I'll take your quirk cash, but you can keep that. I don't need that.
Oh, you think that's similar to how fucking Cassie was destroying the quirk factors?
Like,
It's like, you
think
know,
about it.
I don't need these holes in my hand anymore, you know, but I still got all the other power. I mean, his body can handle that anyway.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, but I'm saying, like, even if All for One pulled up now, Shigaraki, because he's in full control, wouldn't just let him foist a second All for One onto him. He would just take all the other quirks and leave All for One with just All for One. And then what is he gonna do? He's not gonna be able to fight him. His
Especially
body's
now
not modified.
he's rewinding by the second. Yo, I'm low key
But-
starting to doubt if he's even gonna get there.
And that's what I was gonna say. We've talked about how every one of All for One's plans haven't gone exactly how he wanted them to. They've kind of failed, or how he isn't that dude. And I realized something beautiful about this, right? All for One has spent his time manipulating people left, right, center, controlling everyone, getting people to dance like puppets, calling people jobbers to their faces,
Lighters.
like basically like your extras, your warm-ups, all this other stuff. What more pathetic death for a man that talks like this than not even getting to see the MC? What more disrespectful death for a man who fancies himself the main villain of the story to not even go against the guy that in his mind is categorized as the main character?
Yo, you know what I want? You know what? I want him to make it there and rewind right before he finishes like talking his shit. Like, imagine he's flying over there and he just starts screaming like he has like only a few seconds to do something, and he's really panicking. He's really on the ropes. Finally, like we see his true persona come out, like who he really is, and then he rewinds before he even gets the chance to finish talking.
And Mr. Andrew,
Be hilarious.
it does feel like it's AFO and Shiggy versus all of Japan, because it kind of is. Like,
Yo,
them
and
boys
also,
getting jumped.
somebody in the chat said quirkless Shigaraki put more hands on Endeavor than All For One with his quirks. Facts.
Legit.
That's
Yeah. That is a true statement.
Endeavor couldn't do nothing to him.
Because like
Honestly, like he did a few things, but those were all team combos at that point.
yeah, because
Him and Bakugo got the 1-2 in.
and
that was the
like I know
Vanishing
some
Fist.
people would say like, hey, like he managed to get Endeavor's arm and he managed to like cut through him, but it's like to a certain degree, he only got that attack on his like side because he was talking about Dabi.
Deadass.
I mean,
had
I'm
to-
gonna
he had to do
Shigaraki
that.
was getting his blows off, just head up, no deception, just whooping his ass.
be honest, when it came down to like Endeavor versus All For One, right? Like him taking off his arm wasn't as disrespectful as like Shigaraki back in the past war. Because what did Endeavor do after he lost his arm? He still put the paws on him. He still beat the shit out of him.
Yo,
All For One
honest-
hasn't disrespected Endeavor at all, except for just tell the truth, and
Yo,
Endeavor accepted it.
The thing about it that's really crazy that like needs to be acknowledged is that
Oh,
if Shigaraki, listen, Endeavor had mad plot armor during that fight. Shigaraki had him dead to rights a few times, but it just couldn't happen because you know what I'm saying. He didn't even know about Dabi yet.
just like
Like
Beetlejuice.
Shigaraki could have killed him a few times.
He says,
Like especially when he was standing on his chest, he could have finished the job right then and there. Stomp his head out, but he, you know what I'm saying? He was feeling himself. All For One, I don't think he could have killed Endeavor at any point.
nah, I don't think so either.
Endeavor made sure he couldn't. he tried to steal his quirk. This man backed out the Superman eye lasers. Like Endeavor was not playing during that fight. So listen, he had All For One thinking in his head, yo, I never thought you would give me All Might vibes. What happened?
Like, dog, it's embarrassing. But yeah, like I said, like All For One, because like if he rewinds again, what happens?
He'll definitely be a kid. He'll definitely be
He'll be much weaker.
You could argue he's a teenager right now, but he looks like he's in like his 20s to me, like early 20s.
I agree. To me, he's like around Shigaraki's age.
So, but the next big rewind will be Child, like All For One.
Maybe 13,
there
14.
was, I think, Volk on Twitter. He had a, I mean, I think it's from One Punch Man of like when All For One gets to Shigaraki, and it's a panel of Saitama pointing at this. I think it's a chibi-sized woman.
Yes, Tatsumaki.
And it says, "Does anyone know this lost sassy child?"
Yeah.
So, Sayez is back.
Yes.
Hello.
He says.
And
Were your
Sayez wished
Endeavor
me a happy
senses tingling?
birthday.
Yes, I
most
did.
of you. So, but Sayez, it's been a while.
Yes.
I'm assuming you've gotten caught up, and I don't remember when the last time you were on. So let's just kind of take a
It's
quick
been
moment.
forever. It's been forever. I think it was the last time there was relevant.
So let's just get some of Sayez's thoughts on the last, however, bit of MHA for a bit.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I've been, because of me not reading the chapters, I've been kind of passively reading and not thought too much about it. I thought, for the most part, I was frustrated with all the Endeavor sightings that never got anything out of it.
It's coming soon.
Me as an Endeavor fan was just massively teased. But aside from Endeavor, I really like what they did with some of the student characters. That, for example, Tokuyami in this chapter, Shinso and Mina. Really liked some of that. I think that's been some of my highlights. I liked some of the. I was surprised by it, but I did like the comparison they drew, or how he drew it between Hawks and AFO in the last chapter or the one before that. Really liked that.
All
I think
right.
it was the last few chapters. I'm not quite sure when the last time was. It was a while ago, so I would have to talk about the whole arc. But
Also, do you need to vent? Did you catch up on One Piece, and do you need to vent?
later, not now.
Let's not talk about
I
ass
just
right
read
now.
it. I was bit reeling.
That's crazy.
Let's not talk about ass right now.
Sayez, were you on the stream for Shigaraki coming back? Probably not, right?
I think the last time Sayez was on stream, it might have been possibly before Shoto beat Dabi the first time.
No, it was after.
Nah,
Shogun.
it was after,
Definitely
way
that.
after.
But it was not
definitely
long
wasn't
after.
that
I think
far
it was probably around the time when. Not quite sure. I think I haven't been there for a long time. Then I have been there for like 1 or 2 again, and then again I haven't been there for a long time. It might have been that in between the others, meaning Darby and Co, arrived on the battlefield with Hawks and Endeavor.
Okay.
But I definitely haven't been around since then.
Okay. So you weren't around for the mutant stuff either. So like, what do you think about that stuff?
No, I haven't been around. Have I been around for the Spinner chapter?
Nah,
I'm not
I don't think you were
sure.
here for the Spinner chapter.
But I think I might have given my opinion on Discord. I don't know. I think I was a bit conflicted on it. I think in hindsight, I'm okay with it. At the moment, I was a bit sad for Spinner. Like, it was a really sad chapter for Spinner. I think narratively it makes sense, and I think it was a good chapter for Shoji. And the outcome was more or less predictable, because I think it was obvious that ultimately Kurogiri would get out and would be a major player on the side of, sadly, the side of AFO and Shigaraki. So I think that part was predictable, but how they got there, it felt really sad for Spinner. Like, especially that moment when he, that chapter where it was all empty behind him. Really, that was heartbreaking.
Oh, you really felt that for Spinner?
I felt sad for him. I think I was against him. I'm not. I've never supported him because he was obviously he's a villain, and ultimately I'm rooting for the heroes. But that was sad. It was really showing how much he was being manipulated by AFO to just fulfill this purpose. He was being used for that. But it also felt really sad, and like he's been wasting a lot of his work essentially for ultimately someone who didn't seem to care about him and for a cause that left him. That was really sad. Because I do think that he is one of the league, he's one of the characters who are most sympathetic. Of course, Horikoshi is trying to build empathy with characters like Toga and Darby a little bit. But with Spinner, I think he had some of the reasoning that you feel the most, because it seems the most true and the least because of, for Toga it's a little bit like she's a bit of a psychopath, and yes, obviously it would be nice if society would be kinder to her like for blood. That would be nice society, but ultimately obviously there's a certain point where her drinking her classmates' blood is just not okay. But for Spinner, it was like he was just a victim of how the society worked, to no real fault of his own, and in a way that should be accommodated. So and I felt sad for him though, because he was probably the most sympathetic characters among the league, who was just used the worst. Because for the others, I think for at least at this point, Darby is still very much aiming to fulfill his goal, and very much seems to at least believe that it's possible, and it might still be possible. Toga, we haven't seen Toga for a long time, so I'm not quite sure. She's now around twice, obviously, but we haven't really.
The last time we saw her, she was talking about how she couldn't use the league's quirks because, like, maybe she doesn't love them enough.
Yeah, I mean, we have been around her, but we
remember.
haven't really gotten a lot of insight into her since lately, other than these little tidbits. So it's a bit hard for how where she stands. But for Spinner, it's just it just feels like he's been lost. He's a sympathetic character, and he's been used a lot, and now his cause is just thrown to the wayside because ultimately AFO never cared for it, and that's.
Yeah, he was a means to an end for All For One.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of what they all are. Which
Yeah,
I will admit, this is a small retcon on Horikoshi's part, because we know from dialogue in Kamino that AFO was supposed to have a bit more care for Shigaraki than just meat soup.
Something changed at some point.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Especially how recently he said originally the plan was always this. I'm like, I don't think that's the case.
It's like that doesn't make sense based off what you said, but all right.
Yo,
like not taking.
Did you see that Patrick meme of that SpongeBob meme where he's like, okay,
about not taking Genesis quirk?
Yeah, about not taking.
Okay,
Genesis
yeah, okay. It's like, okay, it's an ongoing story done throughout years. He obviously changed his mind about this particular thing. It's like, yeah, but it's easy to like,
All For One wasn't
wrap
around
your head
for a long
around it.
time. All For One really wasn't around for a long time.
He intended for, we could say he obviously intended for Shigaraki to get All For One the quirk, but very clearly he initially did not intend for All For One to just be wearing him as a meat suit.
I mean, also, I feel like he didn't intend for Best Genius to be as important as he wanted him to be at that stage.
Yeah.
Because now he is like one of the core heroes. So I feel like he kind of gave up on it. Or he had like plans like Hawks getting Best Genius to be in a body bag,
Like, I know that he had Hawks, like the finalized version of Hawks we got, I know didn't exist until a little bit before Pro Hero Arc, where he was like, yeah, this is how I'm going to handle this story. And we know that he was originally going to be a primarily bird person.
Yeah, it was a recycle
much.
from the Zoo manga, which is name I can never remember. So
yeah, something like Omodaki Zoo. But
yeah.
So like and the thing is like every now and then you have in a week-to-week series, you're gonna have at least a couple retcons, and this is probably Actually, if I'm honest, this is the only thing that I like can know, like can 100% like no, there's a retcon involved here. It's not a big retcon, but it's arguably a big retcon.
Yeah. What I do think is that overall, that's been my impression recently, that while Horikoshi has been trying for a long time to portray the League in a sympathetic way, with making them be, for example, the tools through which he pointed out certain issues with society, he's now gone more and more the road to kind of uncover the inherent selfishness of all of their goals, which has been there before, but I think at this point it is much more Darby specifically, but also Spinner, I think in the final parts, looked a lot more selfish than some of what was hinted at before. Like Spinner before was a bit of he was shown to be like he was shown to be kind of it's called poster child for this cause, but in the end it was very much about his friends and him himself, so making much more egoistical. So, similarly with Shigaraki, whom he has for a long time through Deku hinted at there being this possibility to save him, and now with Shigaraki showing himself quite openly, which has been hinted at before, but it is now much more openly, much more uncovered, that Shigaraki is has always been a bit screwed in the head, to say it that way. And that's not just something that it's society's fault in the complete sense. And I think that's something that we can see with all of the villains to a degree, that more and more they look like their goals, even though they have been for a while covered by these societal issues, are more and more seen as individual goals and egoistical goals even.
Yeah, and I think this is partially I do think this is a bit, and this will sound a little weird, but no, I think everybody knows that like Jump editorial does kind of push its own ideas here and there. Sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. In One Piece terms, we got the supernovas because of the editorial team. So I think that was for the better. In this case, I think that
you just take that for the better, and now you say that now.
Oh my god.
It's a biggest waste.
Can I get some elaboration as a non One Piece reader?
So back in the day, we hit this arc called Saba Odi. And when we landed there, it was originally going to be like Luffy is arriving at this island before he has to go to the new world. And there's a bunch of slaves and it's a bunch of mangrove trees and they have bubbles and poop, poop, poop. And more importantly, there's slave auctions and all kinds of stuff here. But at this juncture, that's like the final stop of the Grand Line before you head off to the new world, unless you're counting stuff like, marine bases on the Red Line. There was an introduction of a bunch of other rookies who were rookie pirate crews that had also made it to Saba Odi. And what it came down to was each of these specific captains and 2 right-hand men had bounties of 100 million berries or more. And so they were like these famed supernovas. And then we eventually got the introduction, specifically an emphasis of Luffy, Kid, and Law as the potential 3 supernovas heading into the next generation, and likely to be the top 3 most important ones. Trafalgar Law even coming back and having a bigger part in pre-time skip than any other supernova, because he shows up at Marineford and ends up helping out Luffy. So eventually these characters get used more and they like play bigger roles in the story. Now there has been some questionable handling of some of these characters, and especially in the most recent chapter, I would say outright bad handling of a character. But we can grind that axe a bit later.
Or
let's talk about this later. That's just.
But in this case, I definitely think that All For One wearing Shigaraki as a meat suit was a decision, and like planning to use Shigaraki as a meat suit was kind of a decision to like put a clean line between the sympathetic villain and just him being like outright evil. I think they did this kind of like create and like dehumanize All For One further. I think that's where that decision came from, is like to push less of a humanization on
and
On all
there
for
was.
one.
I mean, I still think that there is no more nuance to this, because I do think, and I think I was one of the people who was from the start very critical of AFO and very not accepting of the idea that he actually does care about Shigaraki. But I actually do think that what he was aiming for was a sort of symbiosis between the two. I mean, obviously, the whole thing with him wanting to have Shigaraki's hatred means that he didn't want to annihilate Shigaraki within whatever the situation was. And he did, however, want to be in control of it. So he was aiming to create some sort of symbiotic combination of the two personalities where he would be in control, or his goals would be the ones pushing it forward. And Shigaraki just has different ideas, where he's the one in control. I mean, he also isn't really aiming to wipe All for One out, trying to profit off of each other. So I don't think it was always like the meat suit thing in the sense that Shigaraki wouldn't have any say in it whatsoever, but more so it was always meant to be combined. And I think both of them knew that it was always meant to be a combination of the two. They were just not agreeing on who should be on top.
And real quick, I have to acknowledge Sixer Super Chat. He said, "Useless Captain Mid, you mean?" You're terrible, Sixer.
Use ass.
Hey, stop that.
Spot at the moment. It's a sore spot.
Oh,
too soon.
But and yeah, like I do think that like he's used them as ways to talk about those social issues, but I think what he's kind of doing is it's almost impossible, right? To give, because like what do you do to like atone in like the case of Dabi, for example? How do you satisfyingly atone for what you've done?
I mean, in many ways. Sorry.
Because I mean, if you have an answer for what Dabi could have done to atone for, you know, all the killing and stuff, then like I'm open to it. It's just it's hard to like fully redeem almost anyone but Spinner and like Compress, right? Like, which even you hinted at, like he's kind of the saddest character of the bunch because he's ultimately like just a dude that was attached to something to get like joy or any kind of hope of a better life. And I mean, he was out in the boonies. Nobody was out there that was really gonna create any movements. Like the as much as people don't like or feel like the country gets a lot of flack, it's very rare for a like positive social movement to come out of the boonies.
You know, I almost feel bad for making this comparison, but Spinner, he was like an alt-right person. Like he got radicalized by a YouTube video and joined a terrorist organization.
Kind of, yeah. That's kind of how it works. Like, I mean, he's a gamer. The parallels are there. It's like, and that ties into what I said. Like, you're not gonna find a positive social movement out of the boonies. You are far more likely to get the CRC and the slap, which is, you know, My Heroes KKK, out of the boonies and out of the country, than you are a positive activist group.
My Hero's still having a KKK, and they just switched it from Black people and people of color to mutants is still very funny to me. It's
also like it's one of the most. What I like about it is that even though he doesn't like directly talk about it, it lines up with the fact that there is always an excuse to make a bottom class in society. You can always find a way to do it.
You talked about this a lot during the hospital arc too, which
you can always find a way to put somebody on the bottom so other people can feel better about themselves. And I don't think all Overhaul's coming back because he's armless, so he's not going to be contributing to the battlefield, and he's not going to apologize to Ares. So I think that was kind of like Hori's way of saying, like, if Overhaul could be the person he isn't, then he would be able to like see his boss and have value in his life. But because of who he is, he's being put in a pack.
I would like some closure on that, honestly.
I think he is going to apologize to Ari. I don't think he's ever going to be like a good person, but I think he will at least offer her some closure just for her sake, like because Deku kind of forced him to do it.
I'm not
Right.
sure if he'll do it for her sake or for boss's sake, but
No. I mean, like Deku was forcing him to give him
Yeah.
information. So maybe he places a condition as like, hey, we'll help we'll help out your boss if you apologize to Eri.
I mean,
right?
he already did that. So
Well,
Okay.
I just mean that Overhaul won't apologize to Eri out of his own free will. He'll do it because he'll do everything to see his boss. And,
He has an agenda to fill.
and maybe by the time he does it, he'll actually mean it. But it's not like this is his idea because he feels bad for it.
Right, so
okay, so
Hold on, I want to
Nigga, yo,
acknowledge,
bro, why is everybody fighting off one, bro, on the last page?
I want to acknowledge Terrence's super chat real quick because he said within My Hero's religious subtext, death is a redeeming act. Being a sacrifice. I mean,
Oh my God,
and then
Coyote.
Alves said that they're hoping they fix the KKK erasure in season 7 and 8. And I will say that they did slide the CRC scene into one of the episodes in the first core. I think it was when they were on top of Makia.
Yeah, it was the conference episode.
They
Yeah.
mention it. Yeah, they mentioned it, right?
Yeah, so they slid the scene back in there.
Which I
didn't-
gotta be honest, I feel like it fit better there than it would have back in season 5.
I think
I like both versions. What I dislike about season 5's MVA adaptation is cutting out the Redestro stuff more than
Yeah.
anything. I think that's such a perfect segue into the arc. And when you watch the show, like you just kind of start with Shigaraki fighting Makia. There's no preamble. It's like
I honestly, okay, so Horikoshi has gotten a lot of flack for his arc transitions. Somewhat because, like, even though I always find like arc transitions in any story to be kind of like weirdly clunky, just because it's such a like, especially in the Shonen Jump mangas and action series, because there's a massive like downturn, right? Like it's like crazy intense battle, and it's like, all right, we're down here. We're calm as shit.
From York New to Greed Island to Chimera Ant is such bizarre whiplash. It's so weird.
Like, and so hands down, the Redestro commercial is one of the best, and I would actually say it is the best transition in the whole series.
Absolutely.
I would have much rather we got the commercial in season 5 instead of the news report that Narat was.
And that's what I
doing.
mean. I mean specifically the commercial is the best transition. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's between that and 306, honestly. Like 306 when Deku is like, when he realizes what he has to do. And
that's my number 2.
Oh, I love this extra scene that they added in the show last episode where
the nightmare, yes.
The nightmare. Deku sees All for One saying it's your turn, and then Shigaraki sprouting out of him.
Yes.
It's like a Vietnam flashback. He wakes up with like Black Whip. He's ready to kill somebody. He's like, ah. And Osaka's right in front of him. It's like, it's okay. It's fine. You're safe. That little scene, I think, communicated so much exactly why Deku is so panicked to stop this, because there's no time. The longer All for One and Shigaraki are left out there, the more of a chance of success that they have. And that's
I really also liked it because it just showed how much pressure All Might put on him, because it's like the exact same scene mirrored when All Might did that at the end of his fight against AFO. And it's just like to see this scene where All Might essentially expressed his trust in Deku and told him that it's now his time to stand up. That was kind of seen as a positive scene at the end. Yeah, of course, it was like the last thing All Might did, but it was like passing on the torch in a way. Is now twisted in this by the villain doing it, twisted into this way to make Deku terrified of it. I think it was really cool way to do that.
Yep.
Especially in this context where we are at a time where All Might is really struggling with his decision to put this kid into the situation.
And that's the thing too, is that I don't think you were here earlier, but we were talking about how All Might has never directly addressed the fact that he like put a child in this position, and he has never said to Deku like, "Hey, make sure you take." Like even when he came in and like they both apologized, he didn't directly go like, "No, like you don't need to apologize to me because I, as an adult, put you in a ridiculous situation." Like, yes, you're a fitting candidate. Woo woo woo. But what I did is a little unhinged.
I think it's also worth noting that like All Might thought that he succeeded in One for All's purpose. So he thought All for One was dead and gone. And that's why I think he had no problems giving it to a 14-year-old. He just wanted to keep the One for All train going. He didn't know any of the lore that we know now.
He couldn't really
I
use the
absolutely
power
agree with
anymore
that.
anyway. No,
Yeah, I
honestly.
absolutely agree with that. I think that's something that's often
He
forgotten.
needed a
Wait,
successor.
He like here's the thing with All for One, he wouldn't have he would never have revealed himself ever until he was sure that there was another One for All user. So All Might was just kind of screwed either way. Like there's no way he could have known, right?
Yeah,
so,
I think that for this discussion of All Might's guilt, essentially, I think that's super important to keep in mind that he did not know that Deku would have to fight AFO again, because I mean he even said it himself. I think during the sports festival that if he wanted to make someone really strong, he would have given his quirk to someone like Bakugo, who was already strong and then would get stronger. Because I mean he didn't know that he could only give it to someone who didn't have a quirk. And he specifically said the only reason he gave it to Deku was to give him a chance, not because he was picking out someone he thought would be able or willing or ready.
He saw himself in Deku too. All Might
right, he saw himself
too.
in Deku, and he thought, "I want to give you a chance because it's unfair that you don't have one." And that's all.
Well,
and
it
I
was
think that was
wanting.
a noble
It was
decision
wanting.
And not one he could predict the outcome it would have because he didn't know that AFO was still around.
Yeah, it was wanting to give him a chance, but it was also realizing that he was a true hero. Right, because if Deku hadn't run and taken on the slime monster all by himself, he wouldn't have given it to him because there's nothing that he knew would there's nothing to show that he proved himself, but he did prove himself. So it's like, okay, you are trustworthy with this power, and you are not in a position where you can be a hero anyway. So I'm gonna help you out. And All Might was his time was diminishing. He had 3 hours at the start of the series. But he knew eventually he just would not be able to do this anymore, whether in 5 years or 10. So might as well train up somebody who's fresh and young and make sure that they're fully healthy for their turn. So yeah,
can't blame my boy.
No. I also I know I came in a little late. I loved Mina's little moment here. And I know I'm going to see the stupid discussion from any Twitter. She should have taken revenge on that guy. Or whatever.
Oh, people were doing that during the leaks.
That's edgy. Because listen, I ain't never think she was going to kill him. I knew there was going to be some conflict between them. I ain't never think it was going to go that far.
I was convinced I would get why is she so strong suddenly discussion.
I've seen this a lot from people.
Oh, no. I actually do like the fact that she trained with Bakugo and Shoto.
No,
I wish we would have seen that. I wish we would have seen it.
What I like,
that would have been
agreed,
really
actually.
cool to see. But damn, but that is a good method.
I think it makes perfectly sense it is so strong. I'm just really expecting this discussion to be why is she so strong? Because every time someone comes up with a major power up, every minor character comes up with a major power up that seems not hinted at, even though it is absolutely within what we know her powers to do. There's always this discussion about this comes out of nowhere. Why is she suddenly so strong? This is undeserved.
I'm not really in a power scaling mood today, honestly.
When it comes to Mina's power, right now, it's always been gradual over the series. It went from Mina learning how to condense her acid from who was it? One of the teachers.
Oh, ectoplasm.
Yeah. And then you go into Acid Man. And then you go into this right now. Cool. It's very cool.
Yeah,
it's she's always taken inspiration from people around her, just like Deku.
And I think this is the first time that we see that her black eyes, right, are a sign of her poison.
Indicator.
Yeah.
The dehydration.
Yeah.
And
basically,
it's the weakness, right? Dehydration. It's the first time we get that.
basically people have to understand, I think, that they're like the point of the story is that every student becomes an ideal hero. So by Mina choosing to save, and consistently this is the theme through the series, choosing to save somebody is the key to victory, because by saving Shinso and Kaminari, that let Shinso control Makia and then wipe that guy out anyways. So Mina got what she wanted in the end, still by being selfless. I think
I do think there is validity to people's complaints about Midnight and how they feel like this. There should have been more. Like this chapter should have been like at least 2 or like 2.5 chapters where we actually do get to see Midnight getting the revenge that she needs, but still accurate to Mina's character, because Mina isn't a character who wants to kill someone. She's
I'm still curious, like because Momo was kind of being Midnight kind of seemed to treat Momo as kind of her favorite student or whatnot. So I'm wondering what's going to be happening.
I mean, it doesn't seem like Momo is going to meet Higantomaki at this point. At least not now.
Well, it depends on what if All For One manages to avoid being pressed, because he is being pressed right now.
Very bad. He's getting jumped by 3 giants and tornadoes.
Yes.
You got Dark Shadow, Makia, Mountain Lady, and tornadoes on your ass. And I'm not gonna listen. I'll give it to him though. Listen, he's getting his ass handed to him, but he's really in the thick of it, like handling it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's like, not screaming that's not fair like he was doing via Shigaraki. So,
I mean, he was going to jump Deku with his entire army, right? So it's like he's getting that exact same treatment back.
What do y'all think those helicopters are? We ain't talk about that at all.
Yes, I'm wondering what the helicopters are.
So my stance on this is the Nothing Burger battlefields, just, some that just had fodder. They're all converging. And this is why, like what I was saying earlier, is All For One is about to die to extras. He's going to die to nothing but side characters. And like Hawks is like a main character at this point, right? But like that's why he's basically been taken out of the fight.
Yes.
He is losing to exclusively side characters.
Look at Endeavor right now. Look at Endeavor right now. He's dragging Dobby away. He's not going to be there.
It's the Schrodinger's type of situation where like people do not know what they want out of MHA characters. They just know that they dislike how peppy and optimistic the series is. So if a character has a moment, it's like, oh, we don't care about this. If a character is not having a moment fast enough, oh, why aren't they getting that moment? The MHA sidecast is trash. And it's so blatantly not letting the story play out and just wanting to make a statement because the weekly format lets you do that. You can say, oh, this is never going to happen. I remember also after Dark Hero, people kept whining and whining. It was like, oh, Ochako and Deku never had their talk. They're going to talk. It's not going to happen. And then what happened? Right before the final battle, their talk, because it wasn't time when Deku was exhausted for them to speak. He had to be in a right state of mind for that discussion to actually have impact.
It was a private moment. You don't want to have a private moment in front of your entire class.
Yeah. And another thing too, I'm going to say this much. I think a lot of times manga chapters will catch heat simply because people just kind of discount what happened before out of their heads. And I think a prime example of this is chapter 327. I've seen people claim over and over this is the worst chapter in the series. I did not hear a peep from anime onlys about the 327 stuff.
I do think that currently there's a little bit of impatience going on. The Bakugo fans are still waiting for any sort of confirmation on that side of the battlefield, because we really, it's been how long now, and we haven't really gotten any new information now. I'm just waiting for Endeavor, and he's just running around. Every few chapters I get a panel of it, and that's it. While we are dealing with characters that are reasonably minor. And I do think that the story is really good, but I do get the frustration. So, and I think that most of these frustrations are not really because what they see is bad, or because what they see is what they think is bad, but mostly because they're just really, really impatient to get to whatever is waiting on the other side of this, which is promising to be huge. Like, we are looking for the Todoroki finale, whatever that's going to be. And then for Bakugo Revelation, I don't know, Deku and Shigaraki.
The rawness and swag competition, right? Like, people make fun of Boruto, and there's some pretty good reasons if you watch the anime.
There's some validity. There's some validity behind that.
But
I keep on hearing the manga's a lot better.
Me too.
In
Yes.
in parts.
That was the most non-committal, like.
But like the second this latest Boruto development happened, it was like, yeah, Boruto on top, we flexing on all y'all. Nigga, you didn't write it.
Hey, listen, let them have their moment, because they've been going through a lot
Manga
of
has
patches.
become team sports. Reading manga is now team sports. Black
Yes.
Clover.
Yes,
Yuno
yes.
got his moment in Black Clover.
Yes.
All of a sudden, yeah, Yuno on top. He's flexing
Yo,
on
you know
all
what's
your
funny?
directness.
Niggas ain't
The
been
best
talking about
writing.
Yuno
Look at
for a
him. He's
minute.
country level, better. He scales above you. Bro,
I haven't heard shit about Yuno in a minute till recently, so he must have really been off the radar.
He was off the radar. He was wilding out this chapter. Like,
Mhm.
power level wise, my boy was but like
Well, I mean, because they just finished an arc was just Asta in a different
just
location
Asta.
too.
what happens to JJK? You get this big battle recently. I'm not going, in case we got some non-caught up JJK people who know, I feel like JJK is one of the easiest series to get caught up on.
Yes.
Because I don't mean this in a mean way, but it doesn't do a lot of stuff to make you have to stop and think. And very often Gege will actually take something complicated and find a way to like really
Oversimplify
cut
it.
down, like, especially like when it comes to like, let's just say like clan politics. That could have been a whole lot more than what it was. And Gege found a really easy way around letting that be complicated.
He's like the anti-Togashi.
But
I don't mean that to be mean. It's just, but like he makes
Yeah, you're
like,
right. You're right.
Togashi makes sure that you know exactly what's going on. With like a full page with like multiple panels, all filled with word balloons. Like, you understand what's happening.
I'll put it this way. Togashi would have had the stuff with the Kamo clan be an actual arc, or at least spent like a couple chapters on it. And so, but my point is kind of like, if Yuji has a moment like he had more recently, it's like, oh, look at Yuji, my boy is flexing. This is why he's the GOAT of all the new Gen MCs.
Your protagonist couldn't do what Yuji just did.
And it's like,
Meanwhile, Yuji also gets slandered for like being the only person in the series other than Maki who does not use any real curse techniques.
Yuji's curse technique could be used by anyone. I'm just gonna say that. Right now.
Okay, here's an aside. Last JJK chapter was really weird.
No, it was.
oh yes, definitely.
That was
awful.
And it was so funny.
Like you said on Twitter, he took this week off to clean off the hard drive.
It was so weird. Like what was crazy is like, look, we all do it. We all go to bat for our favorite series. All right. JJK people were not seeing the signs with this Yorzu shit. Like I remember the week before, it's like, that leaker was an idiot. He was describing it wrong. No. There's no incest going on here. And then the following leak night just proved them absolutely wrong. And so they've been like
very quiet.
I've noticed like they kind of operate under the assumption that like Gege can do no wrong, where it's like, and he just kind of gets a pass for stuff that others would be roasted for. It's kind of why it's taken so long for a lot of the JJK, not just their female characters, but a lot of their supporting cast kind of been getting flack lately for not really having that much depth, at least compared to the start of the series. Because I think the first 100 chapters is a very robust supporting cast. After Shibuya, though, it hasn't been great. It's not been great, to be honest.
Let me put it this way: I got a lot of use out of that GIF of the Targaryen flag.
Oh, and here's the crazy thing too. Like he foreshadowed it by having Megami like think about the type of woman he likes, and the first thing he thinks of is his adopted sister. It's like, and now here we are.
People want to give the quote unquote the hoary angels a lot of flack, but the gay gobblers are like another breed.
I love the fact that anytime I do a G gobbler thing, it immediately catches on with anybody. That reason. I love that because I was like, go to gobblers, get gobbler.
I think MHA fandom has somewhat separate issues from like.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, people kind of rail on Horikoshi a little too hard, like, oh, his writing should be better. I'm like, are you saying that because you actually keep up this year? You actually weren't impressed, or are you saying that because it's kind of just become a meme to say MHA as the popular anime has not been written well?
It's definitely more the latter because I'll read something and be like, wow, this is like normal Horikoshi style. This is what he's been doing. And people will be like, I'll get online and I'll see somebody be like, Horikoshi has completely forgotten how to write. He would never have done this in like 100 chapters ago. And I'm like, this is exactly how he was handling this 100 chapters ago. I'm confused on how you managed to last this long.
Yeah, that's a disappointment of fans who think they understand the story and then realize they haven't.
It's crazy how people will shit on Horikoshi, say he doesn't care about the series and he's rushing it all, yet they will go like, oh, poor Horikoshi's having nightmares about the series being axed. People just don't know what they want to say about Hori and the series in general.
And that's the wild thing, right? Is that if you take that example of Horikoshi having nightmares about his series getting axed, he is the only mangaka that 300 plus chapters in is like, damn, I really hope I never lose my series.
Yes.
I don't know he's the only one. I mean,
at least that we know of. Like that we get like regular like interviews. Like he's the only one that we see constantly saying that. Mm-hmm. To the extent that if we're gonna argue like based off interviews and stuff, wouldn't that suggest that he cares more?
Yes.
No, of course he cares. I do think that it is fair of. That's why I don't want to really want to blame the fans for that necessarily. I do think it's fair for fans to both critique an author and also make maybe too strong statements like he doesn't care for the story, but at the same time worry about the author not being able to finish it, or be worried about the author's same mental state. I think that these are fair things you can both do at the same time. So I don't really think I'm thinking any less of fans just because at one time they say, does Horikoshi even care about the story? And the other time they say, I'm worried about his health or whatever. I think these are two different
things. I will say, it took me a second, but I was like, okay, he's talking about figures. That's right. Because I was like, what figs? What is he talking about?
I thought he meant fight, and he misspelled fight on his earliest message. I was like looking forward to JJK fights. I was like, I'm the same.
Sorcery fight.
Sorcerer fight.
Yeah, see, at first I thought he meant fix, and then I was like, wait, no, figurines. That I was like, yes.
Or maybe you're just really hungry.
I will say
I am looking.
I will say that during the hiatus, it was really heartwarming where like Japanese fans on Twitter were doing that panel of from the war of the worst thing that could happen is to lose Sensei. They were tweeting that to Horikoshi.
Yes.
Like if he's not going to listen to his peers like Murata, at least listen to the regular people who really like you and what you have, the story that you are giving us.
I do have to say, overall, and that is my perception, not just of the situation with Horikoshi, but overall with mangaka, that the industry seems to be super strict, but at the same time, it looks like the fans of whatever series are super understanding, even when they're when the mangaka doesn't get to writing anything for weeks or even. I mean, we've seen Togashi fans be patient for years and years and years.
Yeah, I mean, like that's why
I think that's really cool.
I think it's like kind of like I don't understand why he's still so afraid of getting canceled when Jump waited 4 years for him to get to a point where he could release chapters again. And like now, yeah, it's out of the magazine for the same issue, but it's like they waited.
Like, which I do want to let's get back. I don't want to get back on chapter just for a bit, just because
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
we
yeah, of
are
course.
getting deep in the weeds. And because I've seen some things that where people are like, hey, like we shouldn't have had Gas Mask and Midnight's Killer come in. And to a certain degree, I kind of like the idea of Midnight's Killer just getting kind of squashed like a bug. Because if you think about it, he's kind of like riding high, right? Like he's acting like he's like a big shot. But it's not like he actually fought Midnight 1v1.
He just took her out when she was already down.
Yeah, like she was already down. She wasn't going anywhere.
He doesn't even have a name. He doesn't even have a name.
Like she got hit by a bunch of rubble,
I
fell
gave him
50 feet.
Yeah, I give a majority of that kill to Compress.
Like,
Very much.
Like I said in the chat earlier, Compress gets the assist.
like
90% of that.
And
Like-
in Call of Duty terms, Compress's assist would have been like plus 80.
Let's be honest. Who the exact person that killed Midnight was so irrelevant that up until you pointed out that they were them, I did not even realize that.
Because ultimately, she could have also just died right there.
Yeah.
Like this dude is way over, and like, yeah, I get it. You were a commander in the PLF, so you got to like talk big game. And I do respect the amount of understanding and effort that they put into like propagandizing and pushing their points politically and overvaluing themselves because they have to in order to like kind of build that cult of personality and have people going along and just kind of riding through with anything they say. But objectively, you didn't do that much, bro.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they did give him the box to wake up Makia.
Yes.
but that's just because he's a PLF commander, so he's the highest ranking person there.
You know what I'm saying? And his quirk, I'm kind of disappointed in his quirk. That shit kind of ass.
And we were like kind of speculating that for like months. Like
Just for it to be
a
something
year.
like-
Yeah,
If
just
you can
like
make
is
people
it like
float, why the gas mask? Just because it looks cool?
maybe it's like poison gas that can make people float as well. I like clouds like Obero.
Is
I-
that not another? Is that
Mountain
not
Lady
supposed
was
to be
about
a
to
voice
fold him
dilator?
at the start of this chapter with that wrench. Mountain Lady was about to fold Gas Mask.
Pretty much.
That wrench was knocking him out.
Oh yeah, that would have smacked him. He would have been done.
No, that would
Yo.
have crushed him like an ant.
Which that's one thing I will say too is that I really like the way Horikoshi has handled Mount Lady through this story.
I was just
I
about-
wanted
Every
to mention
time
that.
Mount
I
Lady
wanted to
is
mention
like
that.
here,
I'm
it's
literally
like
in the middle of tweeting about her right now. That's why I brought that up. Like,
Oh yeah,
Shad's made a tweet where it's like it's interesting seeing Mount Lady right now. It's like in the previous war, she was fighting Makia, and look at her now. She's fighting alongside Makia. It's just so cool just seeing her develop in the background and seeing her like defy Stain's like ideology.
because
like-
because she was the textbook example of somebody.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, we know what I would like for the conclusion of Mount Lady's arc to be actually.
Hmm.
So for her to go back to her small hometown area. Because she moved into because those are underserved areas.
Yes.
We know that from vigilantes. The whole premise of vigilantes
Yeah.
is that some areas are so underserved that you can basically operate as a vigilante and
not having any issue.
maybe once every 6 months somebody will show up to stop you as a hero.
outside
Like,
of vigilantes, look at World Heroes Mission with Rhodey. No hero like helps people in Rhodey's town in his
or
city
look at
or the Sums.
where Hawks was from. He
Mhm.
was out in the boonies and nobody was around. And like his dad was a serial criminal that was just out there kicking it. And the
That's
only
so
reason he
crazy to
got caught
me.
is because he went in town and stole a car.
And ran into the number 2 hero at the time.
Like if he had just
Or-
stayed chilling out there and like created a farm or something, he would have been fine.
Mhm.
Man could have just started planting some stuff in the garden and had a decent life and been okay. Just tucked off in the woods.
Yeah, like Mount Lady introduced like pretty early into chapter 1. Here she is almost 400 chapters later, still going, and like her development has been like so subtle that I didn't really notice it until she was trying to grapple with Makia in Gungavilla.
I mean, Mount Lady was always introduced with Kamino and Death Arms.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And
The
I mean,
arms
Death
are
Arms
common.
now is out, and Kamui is, even though he's higher in official hero ranks, right?
Yeah.
Really,
She was 23rd and
doesn't-
he was 7th.
Yeah, she always. I thought, in my opinion, she's always the one who got the most out of this trio, because she's the one with the most recognizable character. Kamui gets every now and then he gets like a moment during a fight, but other than that,
Yo, that's really the chapter 1 trio in terms of MHA
Yes.
heroes.
Kamui's moment at this battlefield was moving people out the way so they didn't get cooked by Endeavor.
yeah.
Mhm. Kami hasn't
Mount
really done
Lady's
anything
moment
huge.
at this battlefield is pulling up on All for One.
with
There's
Yeah.
levels to this.
With
Like,
Gazamakia, yes, it's just,
a giant wrench. Like let's not forget, like, oh my god, like if
that
there's
wrench
like
is so.
in the
It
future,
was so cool. It was so cool except for that red.
from Ratchet and Clank.
Like I needed a moment to realize that it was magnified by what's her name?
The
Kodai.
Kodai.
Yeah, Kodai.
Because I was like,
Yeah,
where does
Kodai.
she get such a huge wrench from?
I like
that
to-
make they need to be listen. She already
Yeah,
got
she
got
needs
the
to take her on
heroes
as a
she wanna work
sidekick.
with.
Yeah, she needs
Yeah,
to take
right
her on
now.
as a
It's such a
sidekick.
good
yeah.
team. It's such a good
Right
team.
now.
I like to believe that like I'm pretty sure this was an anime edition. Like in the season, not compress. Cementos basically makes her like this
Yep.
bass that she
Yeah.
fights against Makia.
I think-
And I like to believe Hori
Yeah.
took inspiration from
Yeah.
that for Kodai like enlarging the wrench.
Yeah,
And-
like Horikoshi thought that's like, oh, that is so cool.
Yes.
Also, there's some heroes.
Absolutely.
There's some villains that got folded by Mineta this chapter. If you zoom
Yeah,
in on that
but then
panel-
it was so cool the chapter.
If you zoom in on that panel, he did that. That's it. Those
Oh
are his
yeah, he's got
rates,
somebody
bro.
wrapped up. So one of the other cool things about this Mount Lady thing is that, like, to really emphasize where Mount Lady's come from, though, she went from sports festival being like, I forgot my wallet, let me tug on my titties so you give me free food.
Yes.
To fighting as a hero against All for One, specifically in an era where the government has collapsed, which means they're probably realistically they are not getting checks right now.
They not.
Nobody's getting paid for this.
They been wasn't getting checks.
Like, this isn't a paid, battle.
Wait, where's the Minotaur panel? I want to find that.
The first page.
Yeah.
First page.
Page
Oh,
2.
Yeah.
Page
I way
2.
down.
Right
Oh,
next to
oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And he looks so cool like in that panel too.
Minotaur always has these moments where you're like, go, you go.
One of my favorite things about Mineta is Horikoshi does not always remember to draw his grape stem.
I mean, sometimes he forgets about scars too. Like, it's all good.
That's because he has too many scars on too many
pretty much.
characters.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which
Oh, yo, do y'all think Kirishima got hold?
No, I don't
No.
think so at all.
No,
Like
I
I
mean-
you mentioned, they always help each other. Like
It's-
Kirishima
it's-
served his part here.
yeah. If you think Kirishima got hoed, then you have to say the same thing about Mina.
It was a bad matchup for him.
PLW. Yeah, it was a
villain.
bad matchup. Like it's just it was it was the same thing as last time. Makia was a bad matchup for Mina. This time,
Oh, not
Simos-
anymore, yo. You see that acid? Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Here's another thing. If you look closely, the pigment is starting to get wiped even
Yes.
further. Like I think in one panel you see it over half of her face.
Yo, I just want to see one of Maki's quirks is called Fierce Gains. His muscles harden at exceptional levels.
Mhm.
And she was able to melt his probably the strongest part of his body, his nails. That's what he
Also-
used to dig.
I was also
Okay,
if you look
wait,
at Vina,
wait,
her
wait.
boards are still the same as well at the end.
I want
Which
to
is good,
emphasize something important because when we were talking about those live barrels earlier and how people were using them to get rid of bodies,
Yeah.
the hair and nails are the pieces that take the longest.
She melted his mole nails. I think that's
So,
I
like-
think that's a
Teeth,
quirk in of
teeth.
itself.
So yeah, like that's so like that this is like definitely more effective than this is a pretty powerful acid.
Yeah.
I
Because-
think if she hit his body, she might have did some real damage.
Mhm.
Like I don't
Yeah.
think he'd be
Which-
standing.
This is tangential in the sense that it reminds me again of how part of the reason why Shigaraki fights better than All For One without a quirk is because when Shigaraki was training with Makia, his options were beat him physically or just keep dodging. Because what was he gonna do? Decay him?
He needed him.
Oh yeah, oh, cool. I won against Makia, now he's dead.
He
That
didn't even
doesn't
acknowledge.
defeat
He
the
didn't even
purpose.
acknowledge me before he died. I just had to kill him.
Like that defeats the whole purpose. So that's the other reason why he was definitely way more
Yeah.
ready to
All
fight
for one
somebody.
did not. All for one never threw hands with Makia.
So
That was
yeah,
just his master. So Shigaraki really went through things All for One never did.
Yes.
Yeah, like I mean, like specifically, like you just get the sense that All For One has never really been
He's never
pressed
struggled.
at all. He's never struggled. Like he just kind of cruised through life, and he was able to do it because he had like the most broken quirk ever. But
I mean-
now it's like that doesn't work anymore. It's kind of like being in the. It's kind of like playing minor league baseball all of your life, and then all of a
Yes.
sudden just being
Yo,
thrust into the major leagues. Like, oh no, I'm not built for this.
All For One's the type of person to go for swimming lessons, right? But he stays in the kiddie pool all his life. He doesn't go over to the adult
Yo.
pool. He sticks there and
No.
he swims there.
Wait,
All
time
For
out. Yo, Aniki, you said that Mount Lady outclassed Comley Wood. She outclassed Ed Shot too, bro.
Yes.
This man Ed Shot
Yeah.
is a surgeon right now.
he's
Like-
dying
Don't
because
hate Edshot. Edshot is saving an important character's life. Okay, I'm sure if he were there now, he would do something great.
He's a one up. Let's be honest. He's
Yeah.
a one up.
I
Yeah,
mean,
he was,
oh my
wasted.
God.
He was
Kamui-
wasted.
Wait, have you
Kamui
guys
is a
have
cool
you-
character, but he's not really been the Kamui since like back in Pro Hero, like he's
Yeah.
been in the background. He hasn't done anything of note aside from like drag.
The coolest thing he ever really did was capture everybody in Camino. Real
Yes,
quick,
absolutely. I agree
at
with
the
that.
beginning. That's when he was the rising star. Mount Lady, the rising star. Fuck
actually
that.
the more I look at this chapter, Mina was on a tear. Like
She
this
was
chapter is
wildin'.
fast,
Minas,
but
yeah.
she like rolled through Makia, had him like wait, then popped over and was like, "Oh, sludge villain, I got something for that ass too."
real quick.
Like,
She did that. Like
which
I
depending
just
on how
hate I just hate that her development was a little rushed though. But it's
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like we
think-
needed more.
yeah.
We needed more.
I think
from her.
overall this could have been 2 chapters, or
Absolutely.
because I
yeah,
love
this could
I love the destination where she's like, I don't want to fail to protect people I care about. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm gonna do
it's
this.
also, and I think that's been an issue for me with Mina for a while. Mina has always been, this goes back to female character writing. Mina has been one of the girls in the class with really great potential, but for a very long time, she's really been a side character in Kirishima's side plot, essentially. And I think this is her moment, and I think it's pretty sad that we have very little for her to look back on because she's always been very much in the background.
Mhm.
And I think it would be better if we had some more of her in between.
I think this
So-
is also just kind of large cast,
Yeah.
big
Yeah,
net
large cast,
syndrome.
but it's
I
like,
mean, okay, here's the thing with Kirishima. He has been he's kind of the same tier as Mina now. Like after Overhaul, he just kind of goes to the back row.
Because the way I look at it is like anytime Mina has gotten emphasis, she's been painted as kind of that dude, right? Like
Yes.
you look at Sports Festival, she low diffs Aoyama. Obviously, she doesn't beat Tokoyami, but that's because a giant mass of dark energy is not susceptible to acid attacks. That's kind of just like a matchup thing. Obviously, she loses during final exams arc, but that's more to do with the fact that she's not the brightest. That's not necessarily like her skill set. But if she's put into combat scenarios, she usually does well. If you look back to joint training, she didn't put up Uraraka numbers, but she still took out one of the opponents. So Uraraka, Mina still makes moves. And then we get obviously the bit of stuff that we did with her getting through the fire, creating the opportunity for Kirishima, and then freezing, and then getting to unfreeze, and of course that extra contextualization through the backstory with Kirishima during Overhaul. So she has these small moments, and like many characters, she's got a bunch of small moments that, unfortunately, due to the size of the characters and just being the nature of being a side character, they are spread out. I would almost say no less than 30 to 40 chapters each moment is at least apart. And let's see. Honestly, if you look at Sports Festival to Final Exams is probably the closest her moments have been emphasized.
Yeah.
And then we don't get much on Mina until we get her, and that's the other thing too, right? Is that like most of her moments, or a good chunk of them, she's like split between in-house characterization, such as the room competition, post Camino, and action moments, but it's characterization during the room contest, characterization during Overhaul arcs, we get the flashback, characterization during Culture Festival because we get, her teaching to dance and being friendly. Then we get, so there's like a 150 chapter run where most of the stuff we get with Mina is about her friendships and relationships with other cast members. Even also Provisional License arc, maybe like her encouraging Aoyama and her talking to Uraraka about love. So we have all these it's pretty spread out though. And the chapter 210 through 300 is basically, it was villain time. Like, yeah, you had a little bit of Provisional License or joint training to wrap up, but villain time. It was villain hours.
So I have a question for people here as well, because this battlefield was a single chapter, although it was built up to be shown in the last chapter. How long do you think we could spend in the other battlefields?
So,
like Troy with Aoyama or Sero's battlefield.
Well, Sero was with them.
Or not Sero. What's her name? There was like another battlefield. Just
my hope is that we get Mina and Kirishima kind of like better emphasized at this battlefield, just so they get like a little more time, because this battlefield truly could have been 2 to 3 chapters at least. And obviously, like we said earlier in the stream, health issues, so we got to balance the content we want versus the health issues that Horikoshi experiences. Bones doesn't like to expand too much, but I'm really hoping that season 7 and 8 specifically, because like I've said before, I don't want Bones to try to like fit everything that's happening all into one season. I don't want that. I want next season to basically be like 50 chapters. I want them to wrap that shit up with Deku and Shigaraki facing each other with the lightning bolt. I want that to be the season finale. There is no better season finale because anything else requires compressing some moments and not expanding on others.
I think it's going to be close, but because I don't think they're going to deviate from their yearly schedule. Like they do MHA in a tear for 6 months and then they take a year off. I don't think the production committee are going to be convinced to extend that buffer. They really like having that continuous bump.
And that's why I only want them to adapt in like about 50 chapters. I don't like, because
I don't even care if they have like extra bits of filler, because the benefit I've said this before, the benefit of having a final battle is you can just cut to anything that's happening. You just cut to anything that's happening and it counts. Because it matters. Every little bit matters to winning. So if they have to do like 3-4 episodes of filler scattered throughout, that's perfectly fine by me.
Which was this season, the first season we got absolute zero filler?
Yes.
Season 1.
And season 1, obviously, but that's season 1.
I wasn't counting that one just because season 1 is a 13 episode season. Which I still wonder how people would feel about season 1. If
it had the sports festival?
Yes.
I think it would have. I think My Hero really would have banged harder if it was 25 episodes. That's the thing. Our first season only had 13, man, and USJ was heat. It was heat, but it was like a taste. It was just a taste.
Well, on the flip side, they had like 9 months to prepare for Sports Festival. So would it have necessarily hit as hard if it wasn't the opening act to season 2?
I don't know, because then the opening act of season 2 would have been the Hero Killer arc.
It would have, but like I'm talking like in terms of production, like Sports Festival is still one of the best produced, best animated arcs in the series.
At that point, it comes down to if they start the season at the same time or if they push the start of the season back like an extra 5-6 months. And in which if they do that, then we probably can get the same level of Sports Fest.
I mean, if you look at season one.
Oh, sorry, Thomas.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, so also season 1 is kind of the stiffest in terms of production. I know people rank on season 5, but even season 5 is a lot of high points in a lot of
season 1. Season 1 had some 1 chapter episodes.
Season 1 was a trial. Like it was a trial run to see if people
season 5. So remember when I was talking about how like Jump might be treating Hori like he isn't as successful as he should be, but they didn't treat My Hero, and like My Hero wasn't treated the same way that JJK and KNY were, so them kind of pushing for those expectations doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. The first season is the best example of that, because both of those shows, and I think even Undead Unluck, and I think Mashal too, are all getting like 20 plus episode seasons for the first season. Turns out, if you do 25 episodes for the first season, you get a lot of content, which means you get way more chances to get people on board in the first season. Who would have thought?
Wait. Are you telling me that I can get so much out of a show when it's not 13 episodes but 25?
Yeah, man, especially when those episodes are 20 minutes long, technically.
I can't believe it. I'm shocked. But I wanted to mention, because I agree with Volk, that when you look at season 1 and season 2, there's a vast difference. Like season 1 looks like season 4 compared to season 2, you know? Like the production of season 2 was so much better.
I will say for season 1, I do like how like and then their tease at the end, it wasn't for the Sports Festival, it was still for Stain.
Yes.
Yep. Which I think that's part of why I'm like, man, they probably could have put Sports Festival in season 1 and ending it on the Hero Killer is Coming arc would have probably had people sitting there like, what? I thought we were just having a wholesome school anime.
Yeah, because you kind of condense all like the wholesome parts of My Hero into one season. Well, the exception of USJ, because USJ was chaotic.
That was the first tease of
yes.
Because remember when I watched the show, I got to because like I didn't read the manga yet, and I got that to the USJ. It's like, oh yeah, of course, a show about a hero school would have villains in it. And, like, it just like for some reason, it just never occurred to me that there would be villains, and until they invaded.
Well, that's
I still love that moment.
So
wait, not even when we had the scene of Shigaraki melting down arriving. I mean, there was a scene of Shigaraki arriving at the gate before, right?
That was really the signal flare for the whole.
I mean, that was really the we have a villain here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was sort of teased before that, but then but like that was like the first hint. It's like, oh yeah, it's a show about heroes. Of course, there'll be villains.
Because once you see Shigaraki's face like peek through Kurogiri's like portal, I think that's when you realize that My Hero isn't your standard like superhero.
Oh yeah,
show like is it going to be butterflies and rainbows?
There was a scene that I did not see for years because I didn't realize it was after the end credits of one of the episodes early on.
Damn.
I mean, okay, what standard superhero film at this point is all flies and rainbows, all butterflies, but it's just there's always a bit of.
Yeah, I just want to say this is completely unrelated. Cassie looked really good in the anime.
She looked amazing. I will say I wanted her eyes to be blue. And I feel like it's kind of like the
red
Ida
eyes
effect.
doing it. Yo, the red
no,
eyes.
absolutely, I agree.
Yo, Aniki, they gave her red eyes in the manga.
I'm telling you,
from
red eyes.
The manga, because in the manga it was blue, so it feels like
it's that red eye flag. If you got red eyes, you got that dog in you.
True.
Like, and that's the thing is that Edith's supposed to have red eyes.
Yes. But he
Yo,
has
he
blue in the
would've-
anime.
People would care a lot more about Ida if he had red eyes. And I'm not gonna try to provide any reasoning for that, but people would just be like, oh, he look kind of cool. He got red eyes.
Red eyes means more raw swag Kino.
Yeah.
It
Speaking
does.
of which, changing eye color, Yumi should have had blue eyes. I'm pissed about
Yo, why would they
Yeah.
change that? Why would they like? She got that little bit of endeavor in her too.
Yeah, look
The
at her
little
hair.
blue
It's like
eyes.
red specks in it. Like you can give her
Those
blue eyes, it
piercing
would work.
blue eyes.
Yeah, I like the red eyes is hitting for me for Star. The red eyes is hitting.
Mhm.
With the mask, it looks nice.
Yeah, and it
And-
matches her color scheme too, so I like it. But I do think like if they kept the blue eyes, it would be cool because she is like aside from Deku and Nai, she is a all by
Yo.
one like fanboy.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Girl.
It's crazy, guys, because like manga fans are about to be really, really devious. They about to be spoiling the shit out these
Yeah.
anime onlys for no reason. For no reason, they're gonna be
Yeah.
like, she died in the first episode.
So
In
Brandon
every
De La
comment
Cruz.
section.
Can't wait for she to die in the first episode.
I said that depending on how many chapters they did, but I'm pretty sure I did say that the Star and Stripe cliffhanger would be one of the best ways to end it.
yes.
But because they were adapting 3 chapters an episode of the first core, I was like, okay, if they keep this pace, then they technically can fit Star and Stripe at the end, but a Star and Stripe cliffhanger would probably be a great teaser. For the love of God, don't spoil anime onlys because
Yeah.
I love what Bones did with episode 1 of season 6. And it's very clearly what they're going to do with episode 1 of
Yes.
season 7.
Absolutely.
Starting season 7 with Star and Stripe versus Shigaraki is
This is
exactly what we
This
need.
is classic. This is
Because,
it's
like,
It's gonna
Star-
be crazy.
the
Star
anime is
versus
reaching
Shigaraki.
classic territory.
Star versus
honestly.
Shigaraki was the first instance of like, well, not the first, but it's like you are entering a new My Hero Academia. Like this was like pure Dragon Ball Z, which was referenced by Hori in like his auto note or something. Yeah, this is where we leave behind the street level fights.
The
we go
action
straight
gets
into the
really off the rails after this.
Bro, she creates her own Susanoo. Like that, she's so raw. I can't
This
wait to
bump
see her.
to the earth.
I mean,
It's gonna be like
So
it's gonna
cool.
be 10 million views on YouTube type of blow up.
Yes.
Like I
and
promise
like,
you.
cause like someone like teased about Star's quirk on one of the custodian streams, which like still annoys me and several other people in their Discord. But in their stream, the reaction, they were coming up with names like what her quirk could be, and they got extremely close. It was like frighteningly close. Only they called it manifest destiny because she manifests her destiny, which it does work, but I do like New Order.
Mm.
So, in regards to how polarizing Star's death is in the manga, I'm gonna be real with you. I have never, like with Star, there was a chance I was like, oh, she could be around. As soon as I saw her quirk, though, I was like, shit, letting her die makes sense. I don't know,
yeah,
bro.
pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, there's no way you keep her around with that quirk. Like,
But he
I
gave her that
still-
quirk though. So that's the thing.
Well, because you want her to have a viable fight and you want it to be bombastic.
yes.
But how do you justify
keeping her around.
like a 1v1 person giving, Shig for one a fight on the caliber of One for All without a busted quirk?
Mhm.
Maybe that fight really was to show just how like you know what I'm saying, how
Like-
strong Shigaraki really was.
Because like, how do
And
you
why other people can't help Deku.
how do you justify it without somebody having like a top tier quirk?
Pretty much.
And
I just-
like explosion, for example, isn't as versatile or as flexible, but it's an explosion. Like
I mean-
it's blowing up your face. It
if
still works.
If you wanted to introduce like a top tier hero from America, you bring in Captain Celebrity is a good example, but Captain Celebrity already has a really powerful quirk. Like, and that's the only way you can balk Shigaraki. So of course you have to give Star a really busted quirk. Now, how busted it was, like, it didn't have to be like reality manipulation, but still.
But like she was gonna have to have a crazy ass power
Mhm.
in order to make her fighting in the middle of the ocean on
Yes.
the top of planes work.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
overall, to make it work that she with just one quirk can fight at this point a semi-perfected Shigaraki. Just need a good quote for that.
Like,
Yeah.
and
What do you think of the time of day? Because when I was reading the chapters, I didn't really picture sunset, but if the fight is at sunset, it's gonna look absolutely gorgeous.
so
already
well,
looks
it
gorgeous.
goes
No, I
from
think I pictured
sunset to
sunset.
night.
I think they'll have Endeavor versus Hood type skies.
Yeah, I
so
agree.
my thing is
Something like
that this is one of the few times where it's not blatantly nighttime,
Mhm.
but the sky, especially because they're out in the middle of the ocean, it can kind of be whatever time of day they want.
Mhm.
And so that is a great decision. That's one of the better decisions that are like as far as sky, only because like me personally, do I ever end up giving a fuck about the sky nearly as much as
Twitter does.
no, I don't. Because again, like I've said before, knowing like the like meta, outside of the story itself, like the why we get these 9 a.m. terrorist attack, like we said, 9/11 was at like 9 a.m. Like the shit happens on a clear day. Like I get it. And I understand people like it's like the mood and you're not matching the mood. And I was like, well, first of all, because like that was a big thing that came up with the start of this arc. They were like, the sky is blue, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't match the mood. And I was like, but the sky was blue in the manga. It was like clear skies with like a couple clouds here and there. But also Deku wasn't full blown depressed at the start of the arc. So do I want them to take creative liberties? Sure, just so that I don't have to watch people pretend like that's a real complaint.
It's going to be freaking glorious. Good morning, everyone.
Hey,
Seth. Like, you know how privileged they got to be? They're complaining about the color of the sky. Seth never complains about the color of the sky.
And Seth's being happy.
It's a
Be like
beautiful
Seth.
gray.
If the worst you can say about the season is the sky was blue,
It's a good
Shut
season,
up, man.
My
Listen,
stance on that, if you have to dig to the sky is blue well, you're probably trying too hard to complain.
Listen, there's a difference between talking about the way the sky looks, like how ugly it could be or how beautiful it could be, compared to like the color of the sky. Look outside your window right now and tell me that it's blue or green or red. It's blue.
Let's see.
Skies are blue.
I have a ridiculous amount of cloud cover, but
I have some clouds where it's blue skies as well. And it's the same type of blue that was in the anime.
No, you guys have no idea. This is my favorite fight in the entire manga, like bar none.
Really?
It's mine too.
In terms of actual like fight, the scale, the
From start to
powers,
finish?
the nukes, there's nothing.
this was
Anywhere
Horikoshi's
else,
most
frankly, not
raw
just
Kino
MHA.
swag fight.
Legit.
Yeah. Oh my god. Following the spoilers for this fight was the most fun I've ever had. Following spoilers since the PLW.
Because think about this for a second. She made a lightsaber. She made a lightsaber.
No, just watching her like stop her rules, making new ones like halfway through, like touching the missile, like grabbing all the lasers, like it is Dragon Ball Superman versus Darkseid. Just oh my god, it's so cool.
No shade at Jujutsu Kaisen, but when we're talking about playground levels of, whatever cursed energy does at a given moment, Star and Stripe is just peak playground. The world is my playground kind of thing. Like it is so perfectly executed in the best way, and it's contained in a way that doesn't completely break the world open as well. Like it is just so good. And it's going to be at the very beginning of the season when Bones is on a full freaking tank and the only colors that matter are red, white, and blue, baby. Yeah.
The color. Oh my god, anime onis.
Oh, the French colors, I get it.
Anime onis are like going to go from Star Stripe to the Traitor, which they were all waiting for the longest
Another
time.
Frenchman.
Then to the war, like
you know what's crazy? The Trader reveal episodes can be really conservative for Bones too. Those can be really, you know what I'm saying? They can do a lot. after
Yeah,
that.
just have
That
good
was-
art direction.
That was the
absolutely.
thing that was really unfortunate about and that is the downside to how Octane war arcs are, because like something has to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Either like something has to be sacrificed, you have to basically keep like a pretty consistent level of like slightly above average or like just decently animated. And like they chose for this war arc to have a couple good moments but keep a pretty consistent level. And some people were unhappy with that. I was kind of glad for it. It was nice watching Dobby versus Shoto while my baby was being born.
Like I didn't mind in the war like the amount of still frames they used, because obviously when it came to the war you had so much like people moving and like you had people just fighting in the background. And it's going to be the same for this war too. It's just what we got was it surpassed my expectations.
Yeah,
there's
for sure.
So much that's going to be happening next season.
Yes,
Like,
like even more so than the last one.
I see the Star and Stripe fight as like Shigaraki's Nagant fight. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
it's,
same purpose.
yeah.
100%.
I agree.
Him getting a fight that's going to push him to a high difficulty. Let us kind of get an idea of the flexibility that he's kind of presenting with his powers, see where his head's at. And then, of course, getting hit with that, New Order virus, as I like to call it, ultimately setting the trajectory for how he's going to figure out what he needs to do and who he needs to be, right? Because he got hit with that New Order virus. Shigaraki managed to properly see Tenko in there. And now we understand that was something that he did, because we saw Shigaraki actively fighting with All For One.
I think he did that.
World.
I think he did that in the Star fight, bro, honestly.
Yeah.
Because that's what All For One finally admitted to him. Like, yeah, the original plan was just to take your body.
Yeah.
And then he was thinking about his past. He said everything began in that house. And then his hair grew longer. Like he was resisting. Like that fight was really important. Like you know what I'm saying? It wasn't really just smoke and mirrors.
And it's the same way that
good feat for Shigaraki. Like that's the other thing that I liked about the fight, is that Shigaraki doesn't really take a lot of direct wins throughout the entire series. He's usually just coming up at the end to take whatever the previous villain was doing and make it his own kind of thing. And that's still his thing even now with All For One, right? Literally, he's overcome All For One at this moment, and now he's in control. Like that is his thing, and I like that. But this is just a straight up win for him until it's a lose, because Star is amazing. But it's still
I genuinely can't wait until
amazing.
the anime onlys meet Star entirely, because all they know of her is her name and the fact that she is the #1 hero.
Yo,
so the anime onlys, being who they are, they will understand, and I know this for certain, they'll understand that Star isn't a useless character, because I hate that take. People constantly bringing up that Star didn't have to be there.
My favorite thing is Star nerfed Shigaraki, and it's so
that did
clear.
Not happen.
It is so clear especially at this juncture in the story, that Star was basically a plot buff for Shigaraki, a way for him to figure out how to navigate the Vestige world better. Oh, it pushed his body way harder, leading to him fucking developing the super regeneration and all this other shit that he has now.
I do think as someone who isn't the most, I don't care that much about Star, not because I think she's useless, just because I really didn't have any time to grow to care about it. But I do think that for anime, anyone who watched the anime, I absolutely believe that Star will leave more of an impact, because overall fights just leave a lot more impact, I think, in anime.
Absolutely.
And so that's gonna be her moment. Gonna look great. Yeah, can't wait to see that.
I want all the people who work on Deku versus Flex, at least half of them, to come over to work on
it's just the
Star
fact that
versus Shiggy.
It's just the fact that it's the first episode. They can literally go all out. Literally, I don't. There is no will they, won't they? It will happen. That is going to be amazing.
Yeah, they're not going to hold back. They're not going to pull their punches. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Volk has the Arcane Jinx as his profile picture. It's not showing up on the stream.
Yep.
So I just wanted to clarify that, just because I appreciated seeing that little nod.
Yo, a lot of
Nice.
people think that this fight is gonna be like one episode. What do you think?
No, it's gonna be more than one
No,
episode.
it's going to be at least 2.
Yes.
The
How
whole
many-
exchange is like
not sure, to
7
be honest.
chapters long. It won't fit. It just won't.
True.
I mean, it depends on what they add, because they could add more, like more quirks being shown off, or like the fight could be extended. Like we don't know for
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
The thing
Yeah,
is,
Star's
overall,
quirk is super versatile.
they've been very good and very consistent actually in the manga. I think to make to make 1 versus 1 battles, 1 chapter things.
Yes.
So
Also, you
I'm not
guys know
expecting this to
that.
be too long.
Do you guys know what the last chapter of MHA is going to be?
Do you mean season what? Wait, what do you
the
mean?
finale?
Do you know what the last chapter of MHA is going to be?
You mean the season or
The last chapter, like for the series.
Oh, you mean like it truly was our Hero Academia?
It's going to be a concert.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yes.
Oh, don't say that. People are gonna get pissed, but I'm gonna love that.
It's going to be a concert.
I'm gonna feast.
It might not be the exact last chapter, but the last couple chapters is going to be a festival.
There's gonna be a concert here.
There's going
some
to be a
cool
festival. There's
festival,
going to be a
some-
concert, and Deku
Party.
and Uraraka are going to eat crepes together.
Yes,
And they're gonna
and they're gonna
sing.
hold hands.
dance.
I love that.
No, yes. No, every good story needs to end this way. Yes.
And so just
Okay, so I've just kind of like gone back and flown through the Star and Stripe chapters just because I wanted to make sure.
yeah, they're consistently
It-
13
it's-
chapters
it's
or
like-
pages. 14.
It's 329 through like
334.
334. So yeah, there's just too much for it to all be fit into one thing. And so
Yeah.
we actually get the characterization too.
Like they
Especially-
may be
Okay,
short.
you know what? I hate to break.
chapters,
I hate to
they are
break this
long.
up, but I haven't really eaten anything today. So I got my dogs to take care of. It was fun talking. So I'm just gonna take my
Of
leave.
course.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Stay
Sounds like
safe,
you're eating your
folks.
dogs, to be honest. I haven't really eaten anything. I've got my dogs to take care of.
Yeah. So good chapter. We are definitely not ending this year. I keep saying that every week. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Have
See you
fun.
soon,
Stay
folks.
safe.
Take care.
Hold up. I'll be back. I might come back with a baby because I turned my camera off. So
Of
hold on.
course.
You guys talk about whatever, but I'm gonna go check on my baby.
I like the irony of
It's Squid.
Shinso being controlled almost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
well,
was
you know
funny.
what it is, man. I just woke up like an hour late, and
What's
I was
up,
just
my
like, whoa,
boy?
this is what happens, and now I'm here. So let's see what we're doing. Yeah,
Listen, the slime villain coming back was really cool.
Agreed.
Even though
Yeah,
it kind
I
of
do.
killed.
I really like the
the
irony with him
dialogue
attacking
from him
Shinso
too.
for people. That's
He's just like, yo, I don't even care about this fight. I just want to be with whoever wins. Like he's the same exact bozo he was in the beginning.
and
Like
for him to
nothing
be
has
literally
changed about
like,
him.
for him to
But
be
he's
literally
our
like, this
bozo.
17-year-old or 16-year-old is weaker than the
Speaking of-
14-year-old from back then.
He also admits that he's
Speaking
a
of
coward,
slime,
which I
free
love.
Young Thug, by the way,
Well, it's interesting in the survival of the fittest logic or rhetoric that comes up. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
expect it to really fit well, but that's sort of really just. I mean, that did really work. Just the whole okay, this is a strong who survived, but then you have this sludge villain who's also just this slimy, literally slippery person who is just clinging to life from, a little parasite. Like I don't know. To me, it was kind of like surprisingly okay rhetoric for side characters.
It's
Like
that
I wasn't
dog
expecting to
in-
be blown away or anything.
Yeah, no, this is really a chapter 1 callback though.
Yes,
for
it is.
real. Like this is
Yeah.
meaningful. This is meaningful. This is the same villain that almost killed Deku. For real.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that's
enjoy
why-
that.
And it,
the
And-
weak are meant to suffer and submit. It's the law of the jungle. Might makes right. Oh
Who
wow,
would have
this
thought back then that he would survive
Wow.
Bakugo?
He got
Or you
body
just-
bro
by
really
All
is
Might.
an this bro really is an ant cap. That's all.
He got body by
Well,
All Might, yo. But it was such a
Already is
terrible
strong,
matchup
so
for
just
Kirishima.
divide.
Yeah,
Like
for real.
Kirishima could not save Shinso. There was nothing he could do.
Kirishima in
Oh,
this
yeah, this dude's
instance is
full
kind of like dead
fascist.
arms and all the heroes when Bakugo was taking control of.
Physical attacks do not work on him.
Yes.
Right.
And the slime villain is like a callback for Kirishima as well, because like he heard about
Yes.
about the slime
Yeah.
incident, and he even like brought up in one of the recent episodes.
Yeah,
that,
he said that's how he heard about Deku.
yeah,
It was also like it was in the backstory for Kirishima too. Like he was
Yeah.
reminiscent about that too, which I love.
Nah, See, no,
Yeah.
this chapter got some kick to it. It's a little rushed, but it really do. It's just some
There's a
good
beat to it.
content in here.
Yeah, what I like about the chapter, well, okay, Mina does get her
Oh,
moment,
wait.
but I feel like
Wait. Speaking of Mina, I'm sorry to cut you off, but just real quick, if you look
Sure.
on page 8, like Mina's acid is stretching the panel.
Yes.
oh, that's a good catch. I love it when Horikoshi does that.
yeah,
The panel play.
like the god's bullets being in the panel borders, and when danger sense was the panel borders.
Yeah.
It's-
Wait, but continue on, sir.
Oh yeah, no, just before I forget, and unfortunately I also have to skedaddle soon, but I wanted to bring up that yeah, this is a fight where it's like you can't really just brute force it. And that's obviously true for the fight against All for One as well, because All for One is currently invincible, basically. But like you can't brute force this situation. So a lot of it rides on your heart and what you bring to the table that way. And the attack Mina used, Acid Man Alma, Alma actually means kindness in Latin, if I remember correctly. I know that, there are other derivatives of that word in other languages because, a lot of Western languages are based on Latin. But, assuming that it's based on that, it's like, I like that her attack, like the attacks Horikoshi is using are really kind of soft in their
Yes.
name. Like you have Balder, which is literally bright future. That's how you read it in Japanese anyway. And now you have Alma, which is kindness. And and obviously it ties into a bit the message, the idealism that MHA is about. I think MHA it balances between realism and idealism a lot,
Yes.
obviously. But like the answer to that tragedy that befell them, or at least Mina's answer is, well, kindness, at least, not vengeance, which is not the same as justice. Like vengeance and justice are kind of tied together because, to some people, vengeance and justice can be the same thing. But MHA walks several lines with its idealism. So to me, it's
There's
just
actually-
interesting to
yeah.
see it play out in the attack names too.
There's actually a cool, now you mentioned that cool dichotomy in a way to name the attack that is, as far as we know, literally her highest percentage of acid, meaning really
Yes.
the deadliest thing that will rot your flesh away within an instant.
And
To
it's
name
called
that that
kindness.
way, yeah.
Kindness,
Sometimes
soul,
you gotta
Yeah,
pick
because
your
it's so
kindness.
fast that you don't even feel it.
because it means kindness, soul, nourishment or nourishing.
Nourishing.
Well, there
Yeah.
you go. She's taking care of you. See,
Yeah.
Oh.
That's kind of cold, though. That's kind of cold.
it's okay, Stinky Butt.
Anyway, I have to dip out, guys. But anyways,
Of course.
it was nice to be here for
Yeah.
however brief, and
Yeah.
can't wait for season 7, obviously. And this was a good chapter. Next week is the Battle of the Gods, quite literally, and I am so here for it. So, yeah. Thanks. See you later.
Have fun, Seb.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Seth.
Giganto really is gonna
Bye.
throw a whole mountain at this dude. That's kind of lit.
Yo, another thing I just noticed is that when Makia was screaming out, "Where is my master?" his nose was covered, so he couldn't smell.
Wait, wait. I actually didn't notice that. What?
Yeah, he on page 8 again. Makia's nose was when he's screaming like, "Where is my master?"
Oh
Normally
my
he could
god,
just,
yeah, true.
normally he could just smell and he'll just go there, but his nose was blocked, and then that's when he got
sick.
hit
I
with
actually
that
didn't
acid
notice
attack.
that.
They gave bro allergies. It happens to the best of us.
Also, for a guy that can't feel pain, he had a little reaction to what Mina did to his fingers. Like he noticed it. Like there's a little spot on his head where he's like, little expression.
I mean, he probably felt how light his head was. So he was like, oh, what?
Bro, I really want like a flashback to Bakugo and Shoto helping Mina train, bro.
Yes.
I want to see, like, I can't.
I'm not sure. Did you
being
say
only dialogue does not hit for me, yo. I want to see like Bakugo screaming at her to do it right or something. Because remember when he was on their ass that one time, he was talking to Kaminari and Nina when they just wanted to fight robots for the final exam. He's like, learn how to control your quirks, god damn it. Like, I know he would have been that type of teacher for her.
Mhm.
That would have been funny.
I mean, did she say they trained her? I understood it as just her taking pointers of what they were doing, like watching them.
I went up to them and
Where's
asked, "How did you do that? How did you learn that from Endeavor?"
But yeah, but no, it took them a while to learn that though. That was
Mhm.
something they really had to like, that's not something you can just explain to somebody.
I mean, again, that just shows that we should have had that like mini arc of seeing them go on patrol, like before the war.
Like we all know that they trained, like, because they said it to Deku multiple times that
Yes.
they kept saying like,
They
oh,
were-
while you were gone, we were training. Like while Deku Black was happening, they were training. Like they said that a few times.
I want him to show, not tell.
So I'm like,
Me
damn,
personally.
there's a lot of training that got skipped over.
What was it said? Because I don't find the panel anymore. Where she said
Oh,
that she
in
trained
this chapter, it was on 9.
9, right? I mean,
She was like, I couldn't do this last time, so I had Bakugo and Todoroki fill me in on this.
wait, the
special
page
training
didn't load.
method.
I think I'm just scrolling around. I think the page didn't load.
Yeah, but it's the condense and release thing, and Endeavor tried to teach them. It's the
Yeah,
same
I
thing.
know. I'm just not sure if what exactly she said anymore.
Yeah, the basis of Flash
It
Fire.
could be different in
Oh,
translation.
yeah. No, that's what I said. Yeah.
That
No,
would have been
I
cool
do.
to see.
I do really like that in this chapter, without really her explaining much of it, we really found out new stuff about a quirk that we didn't know before. One is her weakness, that
Dehydration.
being the dehydration, and the other is that it seems like whatever
She burned
fills
her
her.
arm.
Yeah, it seems like whatever fills her, makes her ears dark, is probably some sort of substance. I would assume in her blood that she. But at least that's my assumption now, that there is some sort of acidic substance in her blood that makes it look darker, and she can sweat that out, I would assume, something like that. And so she could apparently concentrate that in certain parts of her body now. So I do like that we know that now. We know now that her eyes are connected with the poison, what her weakness is, and that she actually can control not just in a way the output of the acid, but also how much she concentrates of it in which part of her body.
You know what I also love about this like little like not power up, but like this little showcase of her power? It's the horns. Like they grew in this chapter, and they don't seem like they're gonna grow back or shrink back. So she kind of went through like a coda situation.
Oh wait, what coda? We smoking coda right now.
Don't worry, I was giving some praise, but we could smoke coda any other day.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Then I heard coda, and then my anchor.
You have selective
immediately turned
hearing.
on.
Hori tried to make Koda raw. He tried.
You can't make Coda raw, bro. He got a rock face, but he like the softest dude in the class. That's kind of wild when you think about the contrast.
But that's most people out there. Like they come across as like really tough, and then they're just softies on the inside. But it's just the opposite with Koda in that chapter. But with Mina here, it's just cool seeing her horns grow, and then to see that little like that downside to her power if she uses a lot of her acid.
Also,
dehydrates
Koda has no chin. If you look at his face, it's just like a perfectly flat, this like shaved like rock face. Okay. If he was a human, his face would look like Andrew Tate with how little
I think he
of a
is
chin he
human,
has.
but
Okay.
I mean, you go with your mutant. I think he very much is a human, but
This bird is annoying me.
Oh, good thing Seth's not here.
Wait, why?
Wait, why?
No, because his big thing is the bird characters.
Tokoyami.
Yeah.
Oh no,
yeah,
no. There's
yeah.
a bird outside. my
I
window
know,
that
I know, I
keeps
was making a
smacking
joke.
into us,
I was making
and
a
it's
joke.
annoying the hell out of me. Oh, he's doing it again. Regardless.
So how many volumes do you think the series is going to be? Think we're going to hit at least 40?
I
don't
think we
know.
can.
I think
It depends
40
on
is
how
good.
long
I
the
don't
chapters
know.
get.
I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna.
How many volumes do we currently have? 35, right?
This is like 36,
37.
37's out in Japan, And
Yeah.
I guess 38 is out in June.
Yeah,
Yeah.
37.
June.
Wait, how did we end
Alright,
up on
so-
volumes? And what's up, Squid?
I meant
We went on
for-
some tangents.
Yeah,
We got here.
No, he just asked.
I just asked how many volumes you think it's gonna be. I don't like. I'm thinking maybe at least 40, maybe 41,
42.
42.
You think so?
Because if you add a zero,
That
it's
must sound
14.
with so much confidence. Right, Tube. I know that.
All I know is like I really hope that the last volume is like a redo of the first volume.
Yes, I
but
agree.
with them as the pros.
As pros or as some of them being teachers.
Yeah.
That better, Stinky Butt? Yeah, you need a bottle. Yeah, we feeding Stinky Butt over here.
No.
Wow.
How's she doing, man?
Oh, she a little gassy. She's a little hungry.
Listen.
Which is unfortunately two very conflicting needs of hers. Because if she has to eat bad, then she ends up possibly more gassy.
So I have a question for people. I know this is like, sorry
What
to
is
like move from the topic of your child, but
No, you're good.
because Tarnish asked earlier about the helicopters, aside
Yeah,
from
is it
heroes
Iron
being
Mite?
moved, yeah, I was gonna ask, do you think it could be Iron Mite or some foreign heroes? Or what do you
Yeah,
think? Because we don't see what they're traveling over. Like I thought they were waves, but they could be buildings as well.
I think Iron Mite is possible, but I still think Iron Mite goes to Shiggy.
Yes, agree.
I don't know, because we see how worried Tsukuichi is about All For One. All Might might have said, "Nah, I gotta go out there. I gotta see this man in his prime."
I got one more in me.
Yeah, type shit. Imagine if he's able to follow him to Deku and Shiggy though, possibly. And all four of them get there.
Can you imagine if you were like Makia getting a massage on your back? Imagine like how hard that would be because of all the rocks on your back. That's kind of crazy.
Also, there was a slight controversy, I guess, about the
What?
heroes using Makia against his will to fight
What?
his allies. It wasn't like a big thing, but it was something that I had seen people talking
Oh
about.
my
that,
God.
That I actually thought that was interesting though. Like I was like, yo, that's kind of true. They are using
mean, to be
Makia
honest-
against his will to fight
I
his
mean,
allies. That's kind of
I mean, to be honest,
know,
I'm pretty sure the story
playing
is
dirty.
established by now, that you can kind of commit war crimes on Makia. I mean, look at the war arc where they literally use like chemical weapons on him. Now they're doing this. I'm pretty sure, the Geneva Conventions don't apply to him, which is pretty weird to think about.
I mean, when he was locked up there in Jakku, I remember there being some dialogue about people being like, "Why don't they just kill him?" or some shit like that. Like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
those
So-
meatball guys dead in Tartarus.
not only him, but there was some like, I think Kaminari has said something like that in one of those, like in one of the traitor chapters before the reveal. Like there was some dialogue about that where they were like, "Why just keep him locked up in Jakku? Why not kill him?" Like there was some dialogue like that. So I'm like, yo, don't nobody give a fuck about Makia in this manga. Like that man is not human to them. Like, is he considered a Nomu at this point? I mean, he isn't though.
He's
he's-
what they say. He's like the blueprint for the Nomus.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like he's
just
like
yeah.
like why like he's still human to me. So I'm like, that some
Mhm.
hypocrisy on the hero's part, using him as a weapon. Like, they don't really give a fuck about him. They
Bro, the
literally-
most clothing
They're
that he's
literally
ever
using him against his will, bro, to fight his
Bro, the
master.
most
He would-
most clothing
he would
that
not
they
do
ever
this.
gave
Like
him.
this is different from like giving a normal false commands or something like that. Like
Mhm.
he's fighting his master. He would never do that. Like this goes against his entire being, and then
You have
just
to realize
taking
that, like,
advantage of him.
since Momo fed him,
They
Makia
already did.
is where the war crimes begin. Makia
Yes.
is where being a decent person ends and war crimes begin. But like, is it a war crime if it's for the greater good? Yes, actually, it's still a war crime. But it's an understandable war crime, right?
Like,
we're not
Makia-
Oh.
Makia is a walking nuke. Not a nuke, but he's like a
Yo, but,
walking
like,
like.
we're
war
not saying
crime at
they're
the
right
same
or
time.
wrong. We're just saying we understand.
No, keep in
Nah,
mind,
yeah, I'm
Makia may
just-
be like he may be a weapon of evil, but he's still deep down he's still human. So it's kind of like
he is human
I mean,
a
it
little
is
bit.
it is
Like,
however
he-
worthy. It is. I think it is worthy mentioning that at this point they did not wake Makia up to then manipulate him. Makia was woken up first by the villains, and then so I don't know if that makes it any better, but in this sense, you could say that the poison was there to stop an actual currently happening attack that killed many people. So you could argue that this is self-defense, and the manipulation now is basically the answer to a manipulation that happened before by the villains. So, I mean,
Well, here's one thing I think people forget when it comes to war crimes is that you only really get convicted if you lose the war. So as long as they win
People
this one, they
forget.
should be good. No, but this is the truth, okay?
yeah, I know.
Squid
it's
isn't
true.
exactly wrong.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that people don't forget that. Most people know that at this point.
I mean, sometimes you won't get convicted if the Allies liked you enough during the war, you know?
Like, oh, that.
you just the allies. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, right?
I mean,
I
he's
mean,
not
I was-
wrong because like nobody in Japan saw like real time for those
Yeah.
human experiment compounds because America
Because
was
they
like,
gave the research away because it contained information
Yup.
in terms of
Yeah, and on
frostbite.
the other
Yep.
hand,
and they technically got
America is
paid
still
for it
like,
too.
yeah, atom bombs was kind of not nice, but necessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we gave a sizable amount of Japan's population leukemia and a whole host of other cancers.
We gave them
to-
that little 1, 2, 3, combo with World War II. That was pretty crazy.
I mean, hell, there's one guy who got blown up, took a train, and then got blown up again.
That's just bad luck.
Like he was in both cities that got nuked.
You don't know if it's very lucky, like he survived to be there for the, but it's also super
I
unlucky.
mean, I feel like y'all forget that, like, when the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2000,
I think that was 2002 that
2003.
invasion was launched, but it might have been.
Oh,
2003.
okay. Oh, okay. In 2002, it was literally about, like, it was based on the premise of there being like weapons of mass destruction, and then they found none. So that entire war was founded on literally a lie. So, like,
Yep.
point being is that, like, morality only matters if you win legally. So yeah.
Yep. Oh, and it was 2003. It was that's why I was like 2003 because it was one of the few times we actually declared war. Because what the U.S. technically does is just like have
Yeah.
excursions.
Yeah.
They don't have like they've only got like I think 4 total like legal declarations of war. for
Yeah,
real,
but sometimes
but-
they declare more war, but most of the time you're just keeping the peace.
yeah.
Yeah, and the way we keep peace is by, putting the CIA in like the Middle East and Latin America and just shoveling just like tons of cocaine into these countries. Like we were the plugs of the world. I'll tell you that much. All right.
This got
Right.
very political suddenly.
Yeah. To change the subject slightly, Undead Unluck Chapter 2 was so much better than Chapter 1.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
oh for sure.
Like
the content of
I told you,
chapter
like
one.
like I always say, one of the weirdest and worst part, like chapter 1 decisions I've ever encountered for a story that is undoubtedly peak fiction.
Mhm.
Yeah, like Chapter 1 was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this, but a lot of people really seem to like it, so I'll keep on going. And I finally read Chapter 2, and it's just like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty good. So
Man, I'm just excited for next chapter. Like now that like I feel like we're gonna get one. I
Yo.
feel like we won't have a sudden break, but obviously it could all depend. But I'm just
I'm
excited.
excited for next season, bro.
That too, absolutely. Kaiser mentioned
Mm,
that. Did we
I'm
talk about the
really
season yet?
next
we couldn't
season
right
is
now.
really gonna like season 6 already put My Hero back on the map. Like in
Yes.
terms of like y'all need to be paying attention to this.
I'm gonna
But
be real.
season 7, crazy.
Season 5 had its bumps, but it wouldn't have gotten nearly the reception it did if manga readers had shut the fuck up.
Yeah, if you didn't constantly say,
we
this
gotta
season
be
you're not
honest
ready.
about that.
You're not ready for the season.
You're
need to
not
stop
ready,
that.
bro. You're not ready, bro. This different. It's different.
Because-
It's
Stop
still
that.
different.
Because manga readers went out of their way to shit on the 5th core,
Yeah.
even though anime onlys were enjoying joint training. This is something that gets randomly bypassed a lot, but anime onlys were actually enjoying joint training, especially
They
because
were.
That's facts.
of the effort that Bones was putting in, the work, visuals, all of it. Anime onlys were loving season, and then everybody was like, "Oh well, this isn't the part. This isn't a good part. This is a bad arc." Blah blah blah. So it's like you told people a really good, really well adapted section of the story was bad. Then because Bones production committee decided to flip it because they're not comfortable with the villains, and let's just be real, they wanted to avoid doing a villain opening. They swapped Endeavor Agency to being front. So then people were shitting on Endeavor Agency, which is in of itself a good arc.
Best arc of the season. I don't know what you're talking.
It just got swapped. So then people started shitting on Endeavor Agency because, oh, this is what we're talking about. This is the good shit. So you spent like 15, 18 episodes telling people this is shit. This isn't what you need to be looking forward to. And then you trashed on the shit that they were supposed to look forward to. Manga readers, hands down, ruined season 5. Outside, like, yes, Bones' production decisions weren't the best, but straight up, manga readers wiped their asses with the season, disrespected it the whole time, made it a point to anti-hype most of the season.
Let's be honest, a lot of these manga readers were like, "Oh my god, joint training is so trash. I hope the anime improves upon it." It did improve on it, and guess what happened? They never acknowledged
we
that.
gotta, however, the thing is with a lot of manga readers is that they don't even be reading the manga. They just look at the images and like see the words, but they ain't like reading. There's the difference.
Elvis, I do agree, but I feel like for the past few seasons, the second opening of the season focuses on the arc size about the cover. So of course they had to put in MVA, but it started with EA, so had most of the the screen time.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, like, also like wasn't there also like the third movie with like Roddy and all of them?
Yeah, Roddy.
Or was it the second
World
movie?
Heroes Mission. Yeah, no, third movie.
Third movie, yeah. So they also had to like fit that in because as like a little promo for the movie and stuff like that. Altogether, it was a very complicated schedule, a lot of things to factor for.
They also had the Olympics too, which caused some some episodes to be delayed an extra week. So it's like season 5 has some really production was interrupted by COVID. The production committee swapped the order of some arcs. You got the Olympics. It's a lot of things ended up working against it.
Yeah.
I still don't know what you have in the rage. It was great. That's all I wanted.
She even loved that episode with
I
Endeavor
even
just
got a
sinking in
whole
his seat.
episode for free with just Endeavor sitting on his chair thinking about it, being sad.
I think that was like the downside of that arc, but aside from that, EA was really well adapted.
Yep.
They also got banned with a mission to do the opening, so hey, we won there too.
Life is, we just keep eating in life, just like
I feel like I feel a lot of anime fans forget that. It's like you're getting so much to eat, but you're focusing on the wrong things to complain about.
Yeah, like my biggest issue with the Man on the Mission opening is that it wasn't used for the war arc because that song was like custom made for that arc.
Listen, I love Hitabuki, but I feel like you could have swapped these songs.
Oh yeah, because the visuals for Merry-Go-Round lined up with the war arc more.
Yes.
Because of their Trinity focus. but it also just kind of had them like in the devastation and ruins of MVA without emphasizing the League of Villains.
Yeah.
Weird decisions on that one.
Yeah, like the structure would have fit more for like like the middle part of like the war to Deku Black if they had like an opening for that.
So yeah, just
a lot of weird decisions. But hey, at least the endings fit kind of perfectly.
Yeah, this season I actually prefer the endings to the openings, and that has never happened before.
I mean, it helps when you have like the current ending is just a point of view, like going through all the memories that Deku have been through.
Sketch is my favorite opening, probably the entire series.
I mean, Sketch also had like one of the most creative things I've seen on the anime where they showed like the visual changed for certain episodes, like Dabi's dance or
Twice's
Bakugo's episode or Twice's. Yeah, it worked well.
Like I was hoping that they wouldn't change it until they got to when Deco left UA simply so like to see if they would add the I am not here sign to the All Might statue at the beginning of the ending.
I agree with that. I do think they didn't have to, because obviously it's the start of a new core, you have to have a new opening, but I feel like they could have waited.
Yeah.
Because it felt awkward seeing like Deku Black basically in the opening, and you have to wait like episodes. You have to go past like the Endeavor content and then the pre-war or post-war. I said pre. What the fuck am I talking about?
I was so disappointed by the utter lack of anything to the Roku related. Just disappointed. I never get the intro I'm waiting for.
Listen. Aside from like,
I'm not asking for much.
Just a little shot of Endeavor. I mean, you did get like a little shot of Endeavor at the beginning of Boku.
Yeah, at the beginning.
It is crazy how Midnight's Killer just does not have a name.
Yeah,
but
you know what? We have to.
He has so
we gotta keep going by
dialogue,
the name. We gotta keep going by the name. Gas Mask.
Well, you remember Disgust Us? That's just the nickname that we randomly gave him.
He doesn't even have a wiki page.
No. Disgust Us was from like a sketch from when the volume 32 came out in Japan. There was
we got that one. We got from somewhere. Him, the Gas Mask, no name, but he is the most prominent.
Disgust Us doesn't even have a wiki page. That's how like shocking it is. And I don't think Gas Mask will get one too.
There's a part of me that feels like it's very just because he's overly self-important, but because like that's what's come down to like a lot of these people is that they've been appropriating real issues in order to propagate and prop themselves up. Because basically,
how much you want to bet that? Question: how much y'all want to bet that Disgust Gus isn't an actual heteromorph? He just got like really messed up plastic surgery, and so we
that would be wild. That would be wild.
Oh my god,
that would be sickening. Like if Dog was out here just getting, you telling me he among the situation, bro? I'd be sick.
No, he's like a Rachel Dolezal, okay? He just identifies as a heteromorph, okay?
That made sense. Season 6 was so Women's History Month.
That's crazy.
Nah, that was a tweet I just read out loud. But listen, female characters really they highlight in season 6, for real. We got Star Stripe, Nagant, Miracle, Ochako. Those were the examples used in the tweet.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go hang out with my baby. So I want to start wrapping things up.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Let's get final thoughts. Joseph.
I like this chapter. I probably would have liked it more if we didn't really see how it ended at the end of the last one, but it's been a few weeks, so but yeah, I'm excited to see what's going on, and I hope Off One continues to get a shit wrecked.
Squid.
All right, so the first thing I want to say is that Mina lights get. No, I'm playing. Okay, so today was a good chapter. The art was good. Makia looks like he has that dog in him, so that's always great to see. And this battle with Prime AFO is going to be pretty interesting, considering that he's kind of rewinding out of existence. So that's going to be a little fun bout to see. I'm glad the Mount Lady got some good coverage here, showing that determination to fight off Makia. And a slime villain, he's looking gorgeous as ever, hasn't looked a day past 2014. Love to see it. And Gas Mask God just got soloed. And to be honest, he didn't even get the full 2 panels of action. That's kind of crazy. Like, he doesn't even have a name, and he got a body. So I don't know how to feel about him. I feel like he's kind of mid tier right now. So yeah, I'm gonna give this like a 7 3/4 out of 10.
All right. Let's see. Sarnish.
Ooh. It was a nice chapter with a lot of there's a lot of small details I really like with the chapter. I will not lie though, I wish Mina and Gas Mask got, a little bit more than what they got. But, we had to work with the cards we was dealt. Because, our mangaka, he's going through it right now in more ways than one. You know what I'm saying? But despite everything he's going through, this chapter does have a lot of small things that I really do fuck with. Love to see Mount Lady out here shining. You know what I'm saying? And Makia was almost back. Like, when we got the cliffhanger last week, I kind of thought like they just brainwashed him off the rip. But there was a lot more conflict involved in that. So I'm glad it wasn't like handed to them. They had to actually work to get him under their control. And seeing Slime Villain was awesome. You know what I'm saying? Nice little chapter 1 callback. Because he was at this battlefield from the beginning. And I was like, I want to see him do something instead of just, being in this one panel. Because that's kind of what happened with Moonfish. Like, we saw Moonfish a few times, but he didn't really, like, do anything. Like, it's different with Slime Villain right now. We recognize him, and he's doing something, actually. So I do like this. And, yeah, now we're finally back at Gunga. We quickly wrapped up this battlefield. Because we had Makia, so everybody was just getting beat up after that. So yeah, we're back to Alpha 1 next week. Might see Iron Might, which that would be wild. But yeah, let's hope Horikoshi stays well, man. Doesn't overdo it. But it was a nice chapter.
All right. Thomas.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank God my mic was acting up. I like the chapter. I don't think it's as egregious as people were making out to be. I do think a lot of it could have been improved upon, especially with the Mina and Midnight. Because obviously Mina wasn't going to kill, but I do think Midnight deserved a lot more. Because she's been in the story since the beginning, and her death was impactful. As a lot of people will deny it. It was. Especially because it was like the biggest hero debt out, the biggest debt on the heroes, and then twice was the biggest debt in the villains. But aside from that, the chapter was great. Just seeing Mina's like progression of power, and just seeing how she dealt with her rage instead of like wanting pure revenge and beating the snot out of him. She just stood with her beliefs, and even questioned him like, we're here to help our friends. It's the same for you guys, right? Aside from that, like the anime, like the episode, perfect like end of the season. And not only was it didn't end on the Star and Stripe reveal, it ended on like additional scenes to Deku Black. Like, we needed DAS content in the manga, which we never got. Like Deku waking up and he's panicked, and the PTSD from the previous events being kind of calmed down by Uraraka being there for him. I feel that was perfect. I'm excited for the next chapter, especially seeing Alpha 1, like Tarnish called them, like seeing how he can get out of this situation, because he's getting jumped, like he's getting JJK'd by all the heroes right now.
Hey, I don't think anybody's been jumped this bad in JJK yet.
You're not wrong. I do think, because I was looking back, and Sero and Sato are on a different battlefield. They're in Takoba. So I am excited to see what they can do. Like if we do see them, I am excited to see Ayama as well, because he's kind of important as well after the traitor arc, especially seeing what's going to happen to Facom. And eventually getting to see Deku and Shigaraki. That's the number one battlefield for me. Shocker. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy. And great week for my hero. And here's to getting a chapter possibly on the leaks on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then getting the official on Sunday. But yeah, that's it. Stay safe and make sure to like the stream, everyone, if you haven't.
And to close this out, say yes.
Oh, you give me. Oh, that's.
Yeah,
That's
because
an
you can
honor.
also vent about One Piece at the end.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh,
So,
please
first,
do.
first about the chapter, because I really like the chapter. I mean, it's not necessarily what I'm waiting for, but I think that we really got a bunch of really great characters, for great bits for good characters that we haven't seen much of recently. I think a lot of us were asking about where's Kirishima at. He's, I think, an important enough character that he's been missing. And we've got the answer for that. We've got some really good moments for Mina, who is, I think, an interesting character. And we found out more things about her quirk, which I really like. She got a badass moment, actually 2 badass moments back to back, which is really, really cool for her. We have Shinso back, which he's apparently super important in this whole arc, even though he's barely there. And now we got explanation for what we already knew would happen. I agree with, who was it that said that maybe it would have been better or more surprising if we had known if we hadn't known how it ended. But generally, I think it worked really well. Oh yeah, and Mount Lady also really great. I think great chapter for the minor characters overall. Even Minato got a small moment for himself. So I really like this. Oh, and Juzo. I was asking where Juzo was. So that was really cool. I'm waiting for what's going to happen. I think this could have been 2 chapters, but on the other hand, I'm kind of happy it's not, because I'm really looking forward to whatever's going to happen now. I think that the fight with AFO is not going to take all that long now. Of course, all kinds of things could happen. He could still rewind again to teenage year or even younger. But this seems to be the finale, at least for him. And then we can go back to the fight I actually care about. No, I really liked it. I really liked the chapter. I think that's all I have to say about it. As for the One Piece chapter, I mean, there's a lot to say about it, but I do think that I'm disappointed. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I think for I mean, I always liked Kid when he was first introduced, but I think it became obvious fairly early on into the time skip, I guess, that Kid wasn't really where Oda put a lot of work in. I mean, he put a lot of work into Law, who's absolutely the most important of the Supernova now, and we got a bit of really cool development for Beiji in Whole Cake Island. And if you were expecting something similar for Eustace and Wano, you were disappointed already there. So I think at that point, at the latest, got clear that Oda isn't really all that interested in developing Kid, which I think is sad, because he really, I think the way he introduced Kid was promising way more than what we got. And he is a bit, I mean, we've seen this time and time before with Oda. He's reluctant killing off characters. So I'm not at all convinced that that Kid is really gone. But it's still, if this is it, it's still really disappointing. And even if this is just, even if he survives, but this is all we get in terms of Kid actually pursuing the One Piece. Because at this point, I think Kid's dream of becoming King of Pirates is gone. Maybe he survived. Maybe we still see him again. I don't know. But the dream is gone. Now he's just, maybe he joins Luffy, maybe he does something else entirely, maybe he retires, I don't know. But in terms of the grand story as a whole, he's kind of irrelevant now. And I think that's really sad. I do think that the moment we knew that Law was going to fight Blackbeard and that Kid was going to fight Shanks, I think it was kind of clear that both would inevitably lose, because both Shanks and Blackbeard are narratively more important, even more important than Law, I would assume, because they've just been set up as these final characters for like the final parts of the story. Law at least got some really cool moments out of this, I think. Kid just didn't. Kid was just this. That was like half a chapter for him. It was really disappointing.
Law's moments are why I feel like he might not get screwed as hard.
Yeah, I don't think Law is out. I think Law is important enough that he's gonna be kept around. But I think the moment they met, it's clear that whatever the outcome of this fight is, Blackbeard will come out on top. Law will still have some relevancy later on, but he's not gonna win this, because both Shanks specifically was like hyped for forever. So it's clear that the Kid never stood a chance. And Blackbeard is kind of set up as this final villain, unless we get this turnaround with Shanks, whatever is going to happen there. I don't know. But both are really set up for final EOS story, whatever, shenanigans. And at this point, it just looks like Oda put a lot of work with Law and much, much less work into Kid to set them up to be screwed. Just to hype up his really big characters like Shanks and Blackbeard more. And I think that's disappointing.
And this is something that somebody mentioned in the chat, but I thought about bringing that up too. I think one of the red flags on how Kid was going to be handled was when we got the backstory to how his crew formed in an SBS.
Yeah, it was really like,
Bro,
you could see that he put a lot of work into Law, but really nothing into Kid.
And the story that he got would have been great to read or experience.
Bro, the way Kid is being done is so disrespectful. You could replace him with a literal vegetable, like a broccoli, and that would be more effective in the story. Like, I'm actually sad about Kid, man.
The way Kid has been handled right now makes it where if he had just left Wano, like when he was like, I'm done with this bullshit, I'm out. Yeah. Like if he had actually just left, that would make as much sense, because that's basically how he's being handled in the story. Exactly.
And I think it's. I mean, I was sad that we got no in the story, in the manga backstory for real backstory for this crew, apart from that small bit with Killer never laughing. By that point, I held up some hope that maybe this ordeal in Wano, maybe getting really pummeled by Kaido, destroyed by Kaido, and then being kept prisoner, or even having to more or less serve in Kaido in Killer's place, in Killer's situation. Like that could be a backstory for something greater, but it really became obvious pretty early on that there was no interest whatsoever to do anything with these characters. At least it looks like that now. Maybe he comes back and we all be surprised, and then I'm happy. But at this point, he just looks like a character that was introduced, set up as really, really strong, only that he'll never actually do anything apart from like playing this part in Big Mom's fight, which was cool, to be honest. At least he got that. And then to be sacrificed to Shanks so that we finally have something to say, well, Shanks is actually strong. Because he now defeated this guy that we actually know nothing about.
At this point, he literally should have just left the story. That would have been more respectful to Kid. Like, if you're a Kid fan, I don't know how you look at this and not just feel like this deep, dark pit of despair. That's actually kind of wild.
Yeah.
Why are you doing sayers like this?
It is kind of true. It's kind of true.
I'm not. What I do is,
if this was it, there's still the hope that it's not it. That something else happened. I'm still fairly confident Oda doesn't kill characters that easily. I mean, we've seen him done that thing with Pal where he just blew up in the sky and still survived.
Don't mention Pal. Don't mention. Don't hurt me. I genuinely.
I mean, we've seen it before with Oda. We've seen it before with Oda that he's bringing back characters that are supposed to be dead, and so I wouldn't be surprised if Kid survived. And I don't think now that he's going to play a major part in the story, because this seems like this the end of his way to the One Piece. But if Oda pulls something magical out of the head for Kid, that would be great. But I'm not really confident in it.
At this point,
it's really been, and it's been showing that he. If we compare how he handled Wano with how he handled, especially Law, but also BG in Whole Cake Island, and now even Bonnie in a way, there's just much less care put into this character. He was always supposed to be like this cool, supposed rival for Luffy, but never with enough behind that moniker, which is just, look, that one rookie with a higher bounty than Luffy. And that was all there was to it, which is so disappointing.
At this point, Kid fans have both Oda and JD Legends as their biggest enemies. Have you seen the tweets from JD?
Look, I have not been like keeping up too much, because like I try not to interact with too many things that are spoilers, just because.
No, I haven't been keeping up either, but I've heard that spoiler, and then I had to catch up.
But I know that I saw a small clip, but I didn't watch it because when I saw it, I was at work. But I know he was busting out the suit to make fun of Kid, and I was like, man, come on. All I'll say about this, though, is that I'm hoping that this is set up for Shanks to be a more interesting character, because contrary to how a lot of people feel about Shanks, I find him to be boring.
Me too.
And I never wanted him to be like this super OP dude. Based on what Oda said about him having like the most balanced crew, I figured he wasn't like the strongest Yonko, because otherwise, why would you bother emphasizing his crew? And while I think like, okay, he has like good damage or whatever like that, like cool. The fact that he didn't make his own moves to get poneglyphs, but instead sat there.
Yeah, to see some rookie.
Especially because he's always like, oh, like the growth of youngsters, the next generation, the growth of, like you're talking about how you want the growth of youngsters and all this other stuff, but you clearly just want them to do the work for you.
Yeah, no. I mean, Shanks really, is sus. It's just super sus. I mean, look at how he names his attack, Divine Departure. Never heard anything more Tenryubito sounding.
And he is the descendant of a celestial dragon, so it's like between having the access to the Gorosei, to what happened in Marine, like all of this stuff shades him in a very celestial dragon scummy light, where people are like, oh, this makes Kaido and Big Mom look bad. And I'm like, well, the railgun exploded, Divine Departure hit Kid while he was like mid-attack, instead of it being him, guarding up or whatever. And is it a little inconsistent with what we saw the Kid when he was fighting Big Mom and Kaido? Yeah. Oda isn't the best at power scaling, never has been, never been the most consistent. This could also just be what we call the shonen escalation issue, because time and time again, it was emphasized that Kaido was the strongest pirate. And it's funny because the same people who will say that all Shanks feats are Mihawk feats, and Mihawk is stronger than Shanks because he's the world's strongest swordsman, and Mihawk is the top one, are forgetting that Mihawk is a pirate. So if the story is telling us that Kaido is supposed to be the strongest pirate, then Mihawk can't be stronger than Kaido. So even if he is stronger than Shanks, so it's like all this weird stuff that doesn't actually make sense.
Even though it's just, this is clearly a sword attack that Shanks doing here.
And there's no cut on
It's so
Kid.
weird. It's so weird.
Like, but Oda has also made it a point to say that, like, with Kid and Zoro, or with Zoro and King, he made him be like, okay, that's right, you never said you were a swordsman. So there's also a clear distinction that there are people who follow the way of the sword, and then there are people who fight with swords. And Oda's making it a point to tell us there's some kind of distinction. I described it as him basically like using a placeholder for the, it's like he wanted to use and have people be samurai or people who fight with swords. And so it's like, are you a swordsman or are you a pirate who happens to fight with a sword really well? And it seems like at this point, Shanks is supposed to be the latter more than the former. But at the same time, maybe he is supposed to just be a swordsman. But we never see Shanks talking about the honor of the swordsman or what you need to do, in the same way that we've seen Vista, Zoro, or Mihawk discuss it. This also is what I would say an issue with the writing at all of Zoro's dream. Like,
Yeah.
you had him fight King, and then King straight up was like, I'm not a swordsman, dude. I don't care about fighting styles. Like, why would you have him in Wano fight a dude using a sword and have that dude with a sword
Thanks
be
to
like,
the
I'm not a
hockey man.
swordsman? Like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you make him say that? Why would you make him say he's not a swordsman?
This is Oda.
Like, so it's
But
just,
what is a swordsman?
and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what is the swordsman to Oda? Because it's very clearly more nuanced than what we're getting, and it seems like to him, swordsmen have a code that you're supposed to follow.
Like that
But-
question that like you're asking to Oda, like what do you think is a swordsman? I feel like Oda is trying to answer that with Zoro, but I don't think he's answering it very well.
Because he's
Yeah.
not putting Zoro in a position to fight other people on the
Yes.
path of being the
Yeah,
great
because
swordsman.
Zoro is
Agreed.
also, apart from the few, like one or two issues, like the no scars on the back, not fighting unarmed people, and the kind of vague not fighting women, but then fighting women after all anyway, which is kind of vague because he's been very inconsistent with that, I think. Apart from like these three things, which he sometimes brings up, there's not really like, if he wants to define what a swordsman is via something more than just swords play, but something to do with honor or code or whatever, he's really doing a shitty job with Zoro, because Zoro is inconsistent. And I mean, I like Zoro, but not actually that honorable. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just,
So yeah, there's just a lot of weird stuff that's going on at this juncture in the story that makes Shanks a weird character to observe.
Mhm.
And all his words about the next generation just seem empty. And he told Dory and Bragi to have it. So it, like, the thing that I will say that I wish Kid's crew would have destroyed their poneglyphs instead of giving them to Shanks, especially since Shanks had Dory and Bragi destroy their ship. But at this point, I just kind of want Kid and them to wash up on shore somewhere.
yeah.
And then go from there. Like, if Kid washes up on shore after Shanks and them leave, or they leave and Kid is washed up on the other shore, something like that, and kind of runs a havoc on Elbaf while he's gone, that would be the ideal scenario for me, like have Kid come back. Because one of the other things is that I saw somebody post as a joke, like, if Kid has been placed in all these hockey blooming situations and it still hasn't bloomed, I think his Conqueror's hockey has erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, I saw that.
That right there is kind of like the perfect example of how it's really a bad reflection of Oda's writing style ultimately.
Yeah,
because
I do think, but maybe the issue with this is that I'm not sure how much time we still have. Oda gives these weird signals where either we're in the final chapter of this whole thing and it's going to be over soon, or we're going to go for like 20 more years and he'll just say that it'll be over next year for the next 20 years, because he brings in new characters and new arcs and new conflicts, but he's also acting like we're going into the final stages now. So I don't know how much time we still have.
Yeah.
But Kid would not be the first character to have a major character arc out of his whole crew being wiped out by some Yonko.
Exactly.
We got that in a not so nice way with what's his name, Moria, but also with Crocodile, I think.
Yep, Moria, Crocodile, going back to the land of losers and the paradise half of the Grand Island. So there's just like this weird utilization and like narrative that we've gotten out of this, that is Kid really going to be this generation's Crocodile / Moria? Is that what we're going for instead? And, you know, like with the hockey thing, Law was given a hockey bloom because we saw him undo the Sick fruit with hockey. He just straight up was like, let me power my hockey up, and just boom, pulled his titties back in, became a man again, popped his dick out, titties in, man again. But Kid doesn't get any hockey benefits. And like, don't get me wrong, Law's my favorite character in One Piece. So I'll gladly accept Law getting a buff because it makes sense. But I don't like the idea of Kid not getting a buff that by all rights he also has at this point earned in the story, right? And like with him having Conqueror's hockey and Law not having it, it's even more justified for Kid to have this buff than it is for Law.
I just feel like with all this evidence being presented, is that Oda is mad racist to kid fans. Okay. I think that's what's going on here, man.
I'm gonna be honest. I
You
don't
can
know if
only
you guys
you can
mentioned it.
only come to this conclusion by sheer hatred.
Yeah,
There's
when I
no
was literally
logic
like, I
involved
can
in
only have
this.
one redhead in the show.
I
Get
don't
the other one.
I don't know if you guys mentioned it already, and I'm sorry if I retrace old grounds, but I don't think this should have been a thing.
You mean like
Shanks
him-
versus Kid?
Yeah,
Mm.
if this is how we were gonna do it, it shouldn't have gone. It shouldn't. It just shouldn't have happened.
At all. Like I don't think they should have had this like confrontation, because if it's just gonna be executed like this, I feel like Oda should have just not went this route. And
I
just-
agree with that one guy. I
Okay.
don't like the hockey bloom rule at this point because it really does seem to only apply to the main
The
characters.
D's.
Yes.
And well, because Zoro gets a hockey bloom too, sort of.
All right.
Like he doesn't know how to use. He doesn't even know he has Conqueror's hockey on the rooftop, and then basically gets a free pass to advance Conqueror's hockey because he's using Enma. That's kind of a hockey bloom. Pretty. So yeah, it's just a weird, like the whole way that hockey's been handled, which is part of why I don't feel like it's a good power system. I feel like it has the chance
No,
to
it's
be
not.
good, but
Hockey is the super weird thing where you can basically do anything with it as long as you just bullshit your reason into it.
I think it's a cool power system. I don't think it's like Devil Fruits have always been the best power system in One Piece. Like it's more consistent. Well, I wouldn't say it's entirely consistent, but it's more consistent than hockey.
So, yeah, like for example, BB has shown armament hockey one time, and that was when fighting Baby Hawk. And he's actually the first person to mention hockey, because when he sees Luffy, he's like, "Your hockey's grown since the last time I saw you back at Impel Down," and yet he's got like the least impressive showing of hockey of any like top tier character in the series besides King. Blackbeard.
Yeah.
Blackbeard, yeah.
Like it's weird.
I mean, and then there's also Crocodile who was also talking about hockey but not using it apparently.
Yeah. So, but yeah. All right. My daughter's yelling, so I'm gonna go take care of her. I appreciate everybody that came through.
Of course.
Maybe we could, if you guys send some messages in the Discord about the One Piece stuff, I'll gladly like talk to you guys some more about it. And if I can pop on later, maybe I will. But thank you for everybody that came through.
Oda
the
is
viewers who sat around into the One Piece conversation. Hey, thanks, you guys. I'm glad you stayed. But everybody have a great day.